I just, sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Chat. Welcome to 1982. We're going to take you on a little journey back in time today to the movie theater. A good, 42 years ago, 43 years ago now? Something like that?
Yeah.
42 years ago. There you go. But, Curtis, why don't you start off and let the people know who you are and what you're all about?
My name is Curtis, and I'm all about, movies and enjoying life, basically, I guess. Love movies. Grew up with movies because that was like the family thing to do is movies. So it was very family oriented. Watched movies. Then, you grow up a little bit and you hang out with your friends, and then you start renting movies together and stuff. And maybe get a hold of some that you shouldn't have been watching. But, hey, it was all about the VHS tapes when I was a kid. And then eventually went to the DVDs and Blu-rays now. I don't collect them as much as I used to, but I'm kind of thinking I want to kind of go back to that. Maybe not collect toys too much anymore. Got a lot of things going on, so that's just me. Hope you all having a great day. I'm done.
Moto, anything that you'd like to say to the crowd as a hello?
Hello, crowd. How is everybody doing tonight? Just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat and here on the panel. Love 1982. This was each year. It's getting more and more challenging to pick what was your personal favorite. So I'm anxious to see what the ratings are going to be this year that we come up with.
Nice. M3, anything you would perhaps add?
Yeah, thanks for doing all of the work that you do, Prophet. I know it's a lot of work to set stuff up and to from the thumbnail all the way through to having the show broke down of all the movies in categories and stuff. It's cool. Thank you. Thanks, Kurt, for hosting on your channel. Appreciate it, man. What's up, Moto? What's up, everybody?
Yes, Curtis, thanks for showing up from the astral plane today.
Yes.
Yeah, what's up, chat? That's
it. Thanks, Prophet. You're a scholar and a gentleman.
Mm-hmm. I'm just an action figure. As most of you would know, all four people watching in the chat already know I'm an action figure. A G.I. Joe action figure at that. But I'd like to say hello to Dope Studios. He's one of the four people watching. Sam Newsman, Roughshod is here. Daniel Berry, Sports. Every time I hear Daniel Berry's name, Daniel Berry Sports, I think of those old Fruit of the Loom commercials where the guys dressed as fruit were playing like football and shit.
Yeah.
Berry Sports.
Yeah.
But, that's kind of fun. But 1982, guys, 1982, what a year. A lot of shit changed in 1982. Spielberg finally made a movie that didn't upset parents. The best Star Trek movie ever made came out in 82. Tron. What an amazing movie Tron was, changed the world. I saw Tron at an old theater near my house called the Brighton Theater. The theater doesn't exist anymore. But it was like one of those like second run theaters where, while the matinee everywhere else was $3.99, this place was doing like $1,
right,
$1.50.
Right.
Well, we had gone to see Tron at that theater, and it was raining really, really hard outside. And we had started out, we were in like the fifth row. But the more it rained, we had to get up and move back in the theater until we were like all the way at the back row. And literally half the seats in the theater were underwater.
Oh, wow.
before they stopped the film and gave us our money back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience. Looks like Ed is backstage. But yeah. So that was my crazy Tron experience in 1982. Like I it's hard to pay attention to the movie when there's like 20 rows of seats that are underwater right in front of you.
I can imagine.
Curtis, something to say?
No,
Why were you raising your hand, man?
I'm having fun.
Curtis is tripping himself
All
out.
right. He's
I'm
in his
He
own.
is tripping out there.
He's
Yeah,
doing his own thing.
sorry.
Yes.
He's dazed
Chad,
and
sorry
confused.
about Curtis. He's heavily medicated today. He had one of his episodes, and we couldn't have him killing any more of the chickens out back.
At least he left the cats and dogs
we
alone.
sedated him, and clearly it's showing.
Yeah.
Sergeant
Ed,
Short.
welcome, my friend. Any fond memories of 1982 for you, sir?
Me?
Oh yeah, and tell everybody about you, where you're from, what you're about, and where they can find you.
Is it me? Am I on? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
You're the
thank
only Ed here.
Oh, I didn't hear the Ed part. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Ed from Geek Home World Podcast. Where am I located? I'm just on YouTube there. We talk film, TV, and tech. We love talking about movies here and all that. We're on Twitter, Instagram, all those social places you find us. It's pretty much at Geek Home World. YouTube's youtube.com/at Geek Home World 4248. We sure like the subs. We sure love the thumbs up and all that good fun stuff. Apologies for being late. I was out there, saving the world, making it a better place. So that's my excuse. Thoughts
Yeah,
about
and stick around after the show, folks, because Ed's shirt is going to fight Ed's hat.
Yes,
Star Wars font doesn't agree with the Star Trek font. They're going to have a bad battle later.
Yes.
That's true. That's how it used to be, but I think we can coexist now. What are my thoughts about 82?
Never.
82. I was 12 years old. So this was probably one of the hardest lists to put together, to narrow it down. I narrowed mine down to about 16 films, but we could only include 10. So I got it down to 10, and I'm pretty confident on the 10 that I came up with. So hopefully you'll like my choices. And I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about people's choices here was that none of us really seemed to go for the artsy fartsy Oscar bait.
Yeah.
Nobody picked Gandhi, nobody picked Chariots of Fire, nobody picked Sophie's Choice. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
This movie sucks.
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like from a 12, at least for me, for being a 12-year-old, those films are important, but they're not ones that stuck with me. Older me might appreciate it, but 12-year-old me at the time would appreciate some of the others. A lot of the more comedies, because we had a lot more comedies in the 80s, and there's some good tech in here too.
yeah, I'm not complaining. Clearly, I'm one of those people that did not pick one of those movies.
Ayo. Sorry.
Rob 78, Kaz, how are you? Bull 80s here. Nice to see you guys. Well, nice to see your typing.
Shout out, Doe.
Appreciate y'all being here, showing up.
Yeah, definitely, man. Talk some movies.
Yep, digital's a little behind, but that's all right.
Let's see.
Yeah, so if you guys just want to get started, if anyone else has any fun stories they remember from when the 1982.
Well, I'm gonna say I'm in with Ed. I had, I believe, exactly 16 that I had a hard time separating 6 from to make it down to 10. But man, yeah, it was a good year for movies, at least for my memories,
Well, and it was a great year for toys.
Yes, a great year for toys.
Because think about the toys. That was the year G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero started.
Right.
Like, what an amazing line of toys that was. Not to mention, how cool were those zip cord Tron light cycles with the little
Definitely.
translucent Tron figures?
Yeah.
Like I had a blue one and an orange one on the light cycles. And man, they were fun. As it stands now, I still have a light cycle, but it's not an original one. It's the white one from Tron Legacy. It's Flynn's light cycle from Tron Legacy. But that's like the coolest looking light cycle ever made. I mean, you gotta love that light cycle.
Right.
Tron was so cutting edge at the time. It was just, above and beyond. It still holds up to an extent.
Right. And how many of you got super frustrated at the Tron video game when you were at the pizza place with your family?
Oh yeah, at the Pizza Hut. It was always at the Pizza Hut.
Like that stupid arm, like shooting like little beads at the thing, trying not to get crushed by the like silo full of like cubes coming down at you.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
The grid bugs being assholes.
Yeah, that one.
Right. In 1982, like the Tron game and the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom arcade game were like at the pizza place we went to regularly.
Uh-huh.
And it was always back and forth between those two, lose a few quarters on Tron and then go lose a few more on Indy.
Yeah. If we couldn't
And
find
go sit down and forget how mad I am because the pizza's delicious.
Yeah, if we couldn't find the Tron and we wanted to play Tron, we just went and found a Pizza Hut because then you'd find a Tron arcade game up here in the great state of the
Right. Well, as someone who grew up with an Italian grandfather in Chicago, I was not allowed to go to a Pizza Hut.
Oh, yeah, because it's not authentic.
Hey, Pizza Hut was way different back then too. Their taste between then and today is 100 times different. Easy. It don't taste right.
Well, Curtis, I've got the slideshow started there. If you want to,
let's take a vote from the chat. Do they want to see the slideshow right now or later, or do you want to see it later?
Really, we're gonna like change the format for a bunch of people that aren't even involved.
I'm trying to stall. Shh.
Why? You don't need to stall. It's fine. Oh yeah. So what did you guys think of the thumbnail this time?
You did good. I didn't get the
I got the two of us down here looking up at Elliot flying away with ET.
Aha.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know.
My goal is to each year like have whatever's going on in front of the theater for the thumbnail like have to do with like one of the biggest movies of the year.
Hell yeah.
Remember, like on the last one, I had Kaz and Bruce stealing the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh yeah.
So this year, this year's ET.
I like it.
It's nice.
Cool,
It's
cool
a
stuff.
lot of detail.
Well, if we, I guess we can move on to the first film on the list.
Let's to go.
This Curtis had more individual picks that were just him than anybody else. So we're kind of going to bounce back and forth for all the D ranks between Curtis and then someone else, then Curtis, then someone else. Because Curtis had a lot of just Curtis picks, starting with Firefox. Curtis, what would you like to tell us about Firefox?
It's fucking cool. It's got this Russian plane that Clint Eastwood has to steal because it's a badass plane, and he has to remember.
Night Raven.
Yeah, looks just like the Night Raven. The thing was to fly it, he had to think Russian, whatever that really means. But he had to think Russian to make it work. And then there was a second one that takes off after him, so they have a nice dogfight and stuff through the northern Arctic. Freaking great movie. A lot of well, not a lot of action, but it's got a great story of him on his journey to get to where it's at, and then all the actions right there at the end, the last 20 minutes. It's pretty cool. I think I liked it. I like the style of it. It's Clint Eastwood. And do any of you guys remember watching this?
I mean, well, we're gonna go through everybody as soon as you say you're done.
I'm done.
I think this was a really good film for Clint Eastwood. It was outside of his typecast comfort zone of playing either cops or cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he got to actually play like, a different type of character for a change. Obviously, I stole the designs for the Firefox and turned it into the Night Raven and sold it to Cobra. And then later painted it, dipped it in vacuum chrome and sold it to the Joes. So, it is what it is. But, it's a very cool plane in a very good movie. M3, do you remember Firefox?
Not even the slightest. This is the first time I'm ever seeing anything about it. It looks like something I'll take up and look. Thanks.
All right, Moto, it's Eastwood. So I know you've seen this.
Yeah, oh yeah, I love this movie as a kid. It was very entertaining. It was kind of long and drawn out until you got to the action. Never had anything bad to say about it. But other than that, Curtis pretty much nailed it. Great flick. Well
Ed,
done.
anything you'd like to say about Firefox?
It was it almost made my list. That's why I'm saying it's a very hard list. This for 1982. It doesn't hold up as well as it did back in the day, but I remember a 12-year-old me watching it. I thought it was pretty cool, and Clint Eastwood was still pretty cool dude, and anything he was in was pretty awesome at that time, and anything that was futuristic, like Blue Thunder, had me, any of that. I was an Airwolf fan on TV, so
yes.
I totally dug that. I dug the film, but it was pretty cool, and it still holds up. It's fun.
It is a great movie. However, it only got one person picking it, so it gets a rank of D. Moving on, the next one. This was picked by M3 only. Annie, the Little Orphan.
Shout out Annie.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
Annie was cool, man. I watched it in the first grade. The teacher brought in the TV and we got to have popcorn and whatever else we had. And it's what's her name is I had her name in my head too.
Carol Burnett.
Yeah, Carol Burnett. The Carol Burnett Show was just a really good comedian.
Yes.
And she sings when she's all drinking. She's like talking to Rooster, and she's like, "Fuck." And then he went over and fucking she got adopted by like the richest man on the planet. So that made me, holy shit. Could you imagine? She had everything. The musical part actually didn't bother me. And I'm not like a musical guy. Like I don't like, except for Grease. I like Grease, but the Sound of Music, no. The Partridge Family, no, that kind of stuff. But a really good movie. And Punjabi was the fucking name of the Punjab. It was great.
Yes.
It's just the town he's from. That's all. It's fucking awesome, dude. Great movie. There was Slim Pickens for me in 1982, so this was just one of 11 that made the 10. Thanks.
Wow. Well, for shame on two parts. One, that there was Slim Pickens for you in 82, and two, that you don't think The Sound of Music is a good movie?
No. And I watched that in
God
class,
damn
too.
it, man.
Hey, but I did like Toy Soldier, and I liked the one with anyway, I do like some, not all.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what to believe with you anymore now, man. And bring me back to reality, please.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who's next? Is it me?
Ed, yeah.
I'm
I'm
sorry,
with you, Ed.
I was just laughing. That was too funny. Your response to that. Yeah, Annie was a great film. And I know Jay-Z appreciates A Hard Knock Life because that was one of his hits, where he sampled that. But Annie was a great thing. And I was like you, Curtis, I was a big Carol Burnett fan. And her show never missed it. Loved it growing up. And she was so great in this. She was just, quintessential Carol Burnett. She's just so hilarious. You had Daddy Warbucks, and I forgot who played Daddy Warbucks. I can't see it from here. I can't think of the actor's name, and I feel
Wasn't
like I
it
should know
Yul
his name.
Brynner?
I think it was Yul Brynner.
Hang on, here we go.
Thank you.
No, it was Albert Finney. Yul Brynner
Albert
played him in a
Finney.
different version.
And Bernadette Peters. You forget how many stuff she was in. Tim Curry was in it. There's a lot of great people in this film, and it was just a really fun, feel good kind of movie. And like M3, I don't really like a lot of musicals, but I didn't mind the music in this. I think it complemented it well, and it's a really good film. It was hard not to put it. It was like it would have been like number 12 on my list, so it almost made my list. So
Right
good
And
film.
when you compare it to the original, there's about 85% less child abuse. Moto Viper, how about you, man? Anything to say about Annie?
If they're working in
I've
the
never
mines.
seen the movie. Seen it like in the background. I know the story of it just through pop culture and being on the planet for 52 years. But no, I've never seen this movie. Don't really care to. But I know what the story is. It sounds like a good story, It's,
Yeah, hey, it's fine, man. Some people just don't like musicals. I mean, look at Bruce from Casual Toy Chat. Like, he would just be like, I'm not watching that corny bullshit. Right? Curtis, anything to say about Annie?
Yeah, I remember watching it. I was sick home from school and I watched it on cable. And it was, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good. It was decent. Had some funny parts, from Carol Burnett, of course. Her and her singing, acting like she's drunk. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something I would definitely watch with your kids or something. Your young kids.
Agreed. Yeah, I think Carol Burnett stole the show.
Mm.
And like I said, at least this girl here didn't have to go through what Shirley Temple did when she played the character.
Yeah.
But drifting away from that depressing shit, Annie was only picked by one person, so it gets a rank of D.
No shit.
Moving on, back to a Curtis pick, I believe. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D.
Oh, that's M3.
Curtis, why don't you tell us why you're so hung up on Jason? Did you just like hockey masks or what?
Yeah, this is his debut of his hockey mask. That's why I picked it. It's we talked about Friday the 13th in 1980. I thought this was a iconic part of the franchise, so I had to mention it. It made in 3D, which if you didn't have 3D glasses, like the arrow coming into the camera and it goes in the guy's eye, like it's like, and it's just, I don't know, it's funny, but it's not funny. But like with 3D, it works. Without 3D, it doesn't
Totally.
But it was a good little cast of people, and it takes place in a barn, and he gets that hockey mask from that kid that's got like a shark dart thing for the water. And he's wearing a hockey mask, and Jason gets him and takes the hockey mask. So. But yeah, that's all I got to say about it. It was really because of the iconic mask.
Understood. Yeah, for me, all the Friday the 13th movies are the same. After the first one, they're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Unkillable killer kills horny teenagers. That's the premise to all of them. So, anything beyond the first one would never have made it onto my list.
Hey, I think not
that they're bad. I mean, it's a typical slasher movie. It's fine.
He's got one of my favorite kills of all time, though. That's in Jason 10 with the
Well, that's not until the 90s.
And
M3, how about you, man? Anything to say about Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D?
Yeah, if I'm with you, Prophet, but instead of saying like, anyway, I like it, and they do all mesh together. That's pretty much my point. It's a good movie. I don't remember seeing it specifically, just like the other 9 specifically, but I don't think I chose this one. I think this was off.
No, you didn't. Curtis is the only one that picked this.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, another fucking slasher, perfect Jason shit, man. I love it.
Moto, how about you, man?
Yeah, we went and saw this one in the theaters for sure. Loved it. Absolutely loved this movie. The 3D kind of sucked, but the best 3D shot to me still was that the arrow.
yeah.
That was great. That was perfect. And of course, I like the girl going. Why they always got to go swimming at night in the nude? It just blows me away. But I'm not going to complain.
Well, because teenagers are dumb enough to think that fucking in the water is going to be a good idea.
Like that commercial, they're running from the killer, and let's go to the tool shed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just. I mean, that is now part of culture. I mean, here we are talking about it. You know what I mean? How campy it was, but yeah, it was. To me, it's a movie that still holds up.
Ed, how about you?
Far out, man.
So far out, man. It's like radical. Curtis should trip. Yeah, it was the first time I forgot this. For me, all the Friday the 13th movies are the same movie, and they started out scary, and then they just got silly, just like the Freddy Krueger films, But it was, for a 12-year-old, it was cool. We had horror, and it was fun horror. It was like, wasn't too serious. It was a little gory, but not really. And, so it was fun. It was just fun.
And clearly the movie poster rips off Psycho, stabbing through a shower curtain.
That's a good call.
As this was only picked by Curtis, it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, we've got one of Digital Caveman's picks. Sadly, he's not here just yet. But we'll talk about it for him because I'm sure this almost made a bunch of people's lists.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing with Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah.
Ed, why don't you start us off this time?
This was and help me out here. Wasn't there a TV series of Swamp Thing or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, was.
Yeah, there was. Didn't the TV series have one of the Heathers in it, like Locklear or Thomas?
I don't
know.
If
it was the 80s, I think it had to. I think contractually, I feel like they had to. There was a Heather in every show, right?
It's like Tubi or Prime, the early Swamp Thing TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those for free.
Yeah, the thing about this, though, it was a lot of fun. It was a little. Who was in it? Okay, yeah, Adrian Barbeau and Lewis Jordan. I don't know who that is. I'd know if I saw him. Wes Craven. I didn't realize it was a Wes Craven film. I didn't know that. But yeah, it was a fun film. I mean, I didn't know anything about Swamp Thing, but it seems kind of cool. Maybe it seems like if those kids that were in the Jason film did a crossover with Swamp Thing, those kids could go swimming in the swamp thinking it was a lake, and then Jason shows up and him and Swamp Thing duel it out. Now that would have been a great crossover. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
And real quick in the chat, Roughshod Stalks says that Swamp Thing 2 had Heather Locklear in it. So there you go.
Oh, there you go. I knew there was a correlation.
Yeah.
Curtis, what about you? What did you think of Swamp Thing?
When I was a kid, I was amazed by it. I thought it was cool. Had some good special effect art, makeup and stuff done in it. So that was really cool about it. And it was very swampy.
Nice. Moto, anything to say about Swamp Thing?
Love this movie as well. It was great. That poor botanist. But you know,
Well, hit pause for a second.
huh?
Hey,
Oh,
digital.
Hey,
Greetings.
digital.
Sorry,
Good
I'm late,
timing.
fellas.
Hey, look, but you made it on time for your first pick.
Oh wow, awesome! Swamp Thing was my first pick. Am I the only one to pick Swamp Thing?
No,
Yeah.
no. It's
Oh.
the first pick, the first one that's your pick.
Oh.
That's on our list, because we
Oh,
start
okay.
from the bottom and work our way up.
Okay.
So
You
yeah,
missed-
go ahead, digital. Tell the people who you
Swamp
are,
Thing.
say hi to the chat, and then tell us about Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing is, it's one of those movies that I watched like a million times when my grandparents had HBO. And, it was like Swamp Thing and Flash Gordon and Superman 2. It was like, those movies were getting played over and over and over at the time that they had it. And I really enjoyed this movie because, it was rare to get a comic book movie in these, during this time, of course, Superman, and then, Swamp Thing, and at first I didn't even realize it was a comic book movie. I didn't know what Swamp Thing was in '82. And I watched this one, and, Adrian Barbeau, and then they had the AT&T video phone. Does anybody remember that in there? In the movie? No.
I don't
I think
remember
so.
that.
I think I remember it slightly.
It's always thought, wow, that's so futuristic.
Yeah.
But it's a great, okay, it's a fun movie. I won't say it's a great movie. It's a fun movie. It's a very fun movie. And I really liked it. And I thought the makeup job that they did on Swamp Thing was one of the best at the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the outlier. I never cared for this movie. This movie made me feel insecure, right? Because no, look. Let me explain.
Oh dear.
Adrienne Barbeau, gorgeous woman, and this fucking dripping slimy thing can hook up with her. I could never hook up with her.
She had
Right?
low expectations.
So I'm like, it made me feel like I was less than this slimy plant thing. But no, fuck that, man. No way that thing gets a hotter chick than me, man. Fuck that. Sorry, Moto. Why don't you go ahead and finish up what you were saying before Digital came in?
Oh, no worries. I was gonna just say that this movie to me was great, and just like Digital, it was constantly on, and I was constantly watching it when it did come on.
Yeah.
Special effects at that time were great. The fat chubby bald guy that
Turn
kept
into a
messing up
pig.
gets turned into a boar, a little piggy.
Yeah.
It runs across the table and stuff like that. That was a great scene. But at the same time, when Shithead becomes the evil wolf-looking thing, his eyeballs look like teddy bears. They took them from teddy bears and put them on there. But I mean, just it's when you call it a fun movie, yes, sir. It's absolutely it's a popcorn movie, and I have no complaints about this movie for 1982. It was on my list, but it just didn't make it.
Well, speaking of chubby bald guys, M3, what do you think?
He just has a chubby.
I actually never seen this movie. Like, ever.
Well, that makes it real simple.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, as Digital was the only one to pick this, it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, we've got another one of Curtis's choices, The Toy. Richard Pryor, Jackie Gleason, and the worst, shittiest little kid in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
That was you, Prophet, wasn't it?
No. We spent our summers in Rangoon. We made meat helmets. Anyways, Curtis, go ahead. Tell us about The Toy.
The Toy, I watched it over and over again at Grandma and Grandpa's house on cable. It had Richard Pryor, which I was a fan of Richard Pryor. Jackie Gleason. Always been, even as a 10-year-old, I was, or not a 10-year-old, 7-year-old, I was a Jackie Gleason fan because of the parents and the grandparents, and then, and it was, the toys he had. I dreamed of having that room that he had.
Definitely.
I was like so amazed with his room. Yeah. It was great. And Richard Pryor was funny. Like the kid was such a brat. So mean to him, man.
Hey, that kid's what inspired me to send all children to the mines.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great movie to watch, like, maybe with your young kids. And because it can kind of teach them a lesson of, how
not to treat people.
Right. Treat people the way you want to be treated and stuff like that, It's a really good like teaching youngster type movie, I think. But that's all.
M3, what about you?
I remember my mom and dad watched it way beyond 1982. It was like maybe when I was already like 12 or 13 or something like that. I never watched the whole thing, but I do like the people are in it. And I know the story. And Roughshod said, "What up, pops?" Roughshod says, "And Dixie." And that recollection of Dixie, is that the hot mom, the stepmom, or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. But I don't remember it. I'm good.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if you guys saw when I just zoomed in on it, this was done by the same guy who did Superman.
Richard Donner. I never knew that.
Ed, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, I never knew that Richard Donner. Like, I didn't know Wes Craven did the whatever we were talking about before.
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. Thank you. And the toy was funny. That time, Richard Pryor was everywhere. I think the next year we got Superman 3, which was basically the Richard Pryor vehicle.
Yeah.
Superman just happened to be in his own film. And that's how popular he was. Like how Eddie Murphy around 83 to 85 was like the shit. And 80, through the 80s. That's how Richard Pryor was. And some people, I think, forget how big and how influential he was to future generations, but it was just hilarious. And, he was just so comical in his mannerisms and the way he moved in that film. And this film, I don't know why, but in a way it kind of reminds me of Arthur with Dudley Moore a little bit. Cause it's kind of the same, they're kind of man-child as people like to use that in a bad term for guys these days. But, they were like man-child back then that hadn't kind of got their stuff together. And later on, of course, they do. And it's just a great fun film. It's just a good comedy the good kind of comedies we don't get anymore. And hopefully we will soon.
Yeah.
Moto, how about you? What do you remember about the toy?
This movie was great. I loved Richard Pryor as well. I think we all did. Love Jackie Gleason. I think I'm Richard Curtis. I used to watch The Honeymooners.
Yes.
All the time at the grandparents' house too.
Yeah.
But this guy, this poor guy, he's on down on his luck, and all of a sudden he sees proposition to be this spoiled brat who says, "Daddy, I want this," and he gets it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this guy's offered like some hella serious cash. Put up with it. I mean, like he goes through some shit, right?
Yeah.
And then finally it took an ass whooping, and it
from the toy.
Yeah. And kid got his shit worked out and turned out to be a great moral of the story, and no, that was a good movie, good flick, good time.
My beef with this movie is Jackie Gleason showed us that for years, maybe even decades, he showed us that he was totally willing to punch his wife in the face over the slightest little infraction, but he lets this shitty little kid do whatever he wants. That's some bullshit right there. Little twisted priorities, in my opinion. Digital, what do you think of the toy?
I think she's a second wife.
I kind of like what Curtis was saying about it, how this is a good teaching movie to teach your kids how not to act. And I can see that, but audiences today, that's not what they see when they watch this movie.
That's
Right.
And by audiences today, I'm talking about, younger generations. They say, "Oh, this movie is horrible, racist, and it needs to be canceled." And
Yeah.
I find it kind of funny that our generation's take on it is kind of, "Hey, this movie is a great teaching tool," and younger generations see it as
Canceled.
something that's not to be emulated. And
Well,
to a certain degree, you definitely the child's behavior should not be emulated.
The premise of it that the kid is so rich he can have anything, and then he says, "Well, give me this human being as my toy," and that's just was
well,
such a
but see,
ludicrous thing.
that's the problem with this generation, right? Because they'll see like one little piece of a thing, and they're like, "Wait, I associate that word with something that offends me, so I'm gonna not see the big picture, take it out of context, and be offended."
Right.
And that's why they can't enjoy
Exactly
anything.
so.
That's why they all belong in the fucking mines.
No toys for anyone.
But anyways, the
All
toy
the
this
toys
was
for
picked
me.
by Curtis and Curtis alone, and therefore it gets a rank of D.
D's nuts.
The next film on the list is one of Moto's picks.
Oh, by the
Moto
way,
was
can I
the
say
only
something?
one to pick Creep Show.
Can I say one thing about toy? When you asked M3 had he seen it, he thought you were talking about another kind of toy.
Well, just try and keep it to like when it's your turn.
Yes,
Good
man.
point.
All right. So, well, we don't want this to go for 4 hours, do we?
No.
All right, Moto, why don't you tell us about Creep Show? This is one of your picks.
Okay, yeah, this happened to be I found the magazine, and I got it and I read it, and then I found out there's a movie for it, and I had to watch it on VHS. I didn't see it in the theater, and but it's just a great movie that consists of 5 short stories. Father's Day with the "I want my cake," from the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill, who was actually Stephen King, who licked his fingers from touching the meteor and turned into the Moss Man. And I mean, my favorite one though was shit. We were just talking about her name. Forgive me, I can't remember her name. But Swamp Thing lady, what's her name?
Adrian Barbeau.
Yes, she's in the one. I think it's called The Package or The Caged or something like that. But
Yeah.
she's an arrogant bitch of a woman.
Yeah.
And I just felt for that guy. I felt the shit that he's going through. So as he's said, just tell him to just call you Billy, just shoving her in there and stuff. I mean, it was great. It was great, and it just made it was an homage, from the comics from the 50s, such as like Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, The Haunt of Fear, and of course Tom Savini did all the comic-like effects. So I mean, it was just a great overall. It's like scary movies. I mean, scary movies were becoming the things in the 80s, and I could go on about everybody's story, but the show can only go so far. But I think out of all of them, I think the Crate was my favorite of the 5.
Me too. Sorry.
Nice. Well, yeah, anything with Adrian Barbeau, man.
Adrian Barbeau, that's it.
M3, how about you, man? Have you seen Creep Show?
I did. We watched it. I watched it with my sisters. I remember I was a little bit older. We didn't watch it in 1982, but we watched it when I was a little bit older. And I remember all the episodes. I'm glad they continued it and made the TV show out of it. That was pretty cool. Good. They always brought in celebrities and shit to play certain parts and stuff. So it was really cool. And it's a good show. I liked it. Yeah. That's all.
All right. Digital, how about you? What did you think of Creep Show?
I know I've seen this, but I don't remember this one. When I think of Creep Show, I know I've seen Creep Show 2 a lot more, and that's the one I think of because I was always like, man, is Will Wheaton going to get eaten by the lake monster? But, that's a different movie. But
Yeah.
So I honestly, I know I've seen it. I just don't remember it.
Well, all right.
So that's,
Because Curtis,
all I gotta
what did
say
you
about
think
that.
about Creep Show?
Oh man, when I was a kid, man, I watched the crap out of the Creep Show. I want my cake. I want my cake. um, it was really good, especially with the makeup and all that stuff. And the sets were good. And there was a lot of pretty good actors in that first Creep Show. I didn't know Romero he directed this.
Well, one of, I think it's like one of the stories is a Romero
Yes, he did.
story, and there's another one that's a King story.
Well, King
It's directed by
5
Romero and
different,
written by King.
Yeah, it was written by King. Yeah, Stephen King was in one of them. Remember, he was like, "Oh, meteor shit."
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
directed by Romero.
yeah, exactly.
That was funny. That was the funniest one. Oh shit. Yeah, it was funny. But yeah, it's good. I still watch it. And I know a lot of people don't know they got a TV show out, and it's really good. It's pretty good, man. You guys got to see it. It's on I think it's on USA or Sci-Fi now.
I know you can watch it on AMC Plus.
AMC,
like like one of the things that comes bundled with AMC Plus. There's like a horror thing that comes bundled with it.
Yeah, the guy who did that is a guy who's been doing The Walking Dead for 15 years. So
Gimple.
Nice. Yeah. Well, since the show wasn't in 1982, why don't we let Ed tell us what he thought about Creep Show?
Well, first off, I'm contractually obligated when Will Wheaton's name comes up to say, "Shut up, Wesley." but I really enjoyed. I think it was on HBO, Tales from the Crypt, and I think this inspired it or loosely inspired the show. Y'all can tell me if that's true or not. I don't know.
No, this came first.
Yeah, this came first, so I'm sure it had an influence on it. I didn't realize that George Romero and Stephen King had part in Creep Show. I mean, wow, that's pretty good lineage in the world of horror. So, yeah, this was a fun one. I'm actually surprised that more people didn't pick this and all that. So, that's it.
Well, there was a lot good to pick from this year, which is why I didn't pick this either, even though I did enjoy it.
Yeah,
especially Adrian Barbeau. But because it was only picked by Moto, it gets a rank of D.
Bum, bum, bum.
So moving on to the next Curtis only pick, The World According to Garp. Curtis, why don't you give us a little walk through Garp?
This was Mork from Ork in a movie, so I had to watch it. And I was, I think, 6 or 7 when I watched it, and I was glued to it. I think part of it, though, is because there was some, sexual content in it. But, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's, I would say it's a drama, right? And it's not full of action and stuff like that, but there's a lot of good actors in it. John Lithgow's in it. It's what's it about? It's about Garp's lifelong. It's almost now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost like Forrest Gump, but not. If that makes any sense.
Actually, I was going to say, if I had to describe it, it's Forrest Gump directed by Wes Anderson.
There you go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Forrest Garp.
Forrest Garp.
Yeah. There you go. Yes.
Yeah. And this was, I think, his first serious role, I think. And he did really good in it. And there's a bad spot in it where something happens. But yeah, it's I don't want to spoil that. I don't want to talk about it either, but I'm done. So if anybody else has seen it, go for it.
Yeah. M3, have you seen this movie?
Never even fucking heard of it. That's crazy. I like Robin Williams. I've never fucking heard this movie. That's all I got.
Well, if you want to watch a plane crash into a house right next to Robin Williams, then this is the movie for you.
Yes.
Moto, anything to
nah,
say about GOP?
no, not really. Knew about the movie. I see it when it was on. Never watched it from beginning to end. Just not. At 10 years old, it just wasn't my thing. Even I did love Mork from Mindy. But
Nano.
Yeah.
Right, Ed. Anything to add?
This is probably the one Robin Williams film that I do not remember. I remember it being out, but I don't remember 12-year-old me watching it or any other time since. So I may have to go back and actually watch it because Robin Williams is gold. He's fantastic. And
like I said, the Forrest Gump, directed by Wes Anderson, is a pretty apt description.
Yeah.
DC, what about you? Have you ever seen this movie?
I'm in the same boat with M3 on this one. I've never even heard of this movie.
Oh wow! All right. Yeah, I would say it's a dramedy, if anything. But it's enjoyable. It's definitely worth a watch, especially as an adult. You probably enjoy it a little more. And it's one of Robin Williams' earliest works. So if you're a fan of Robin Williams, join Curtis in being the only one that picks it and leaves it in the rank of D. Next up is something that only I picked.
The Secret of Memphis.
The Secret of Nim.
Oh, I didn't pick that one. I thought I picked that one.
No, only me. I'm the only one that picked this.
It was on my list, but
I watched it
didn't
the other
make the final
day.
cut.
I watched.
But this is this movie is something, man. This is Don Bluth's first feature away from Disney, because he worked for Disney for a lot of years. And Disney is basically like a sweatshop.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Don Bluth started his own production company, and this was the first film in it. And it is an amazing film.
Yes.
You wouldn't think little Mrs. Brisby here trying to stop the farmer from mowing down a rose bush would be a compelling story, but I'll be damned. Throw in some laboratory tested rats with higher intelligence, and it really is. It's a masterpiece. This was better 2D animation than anything Disney had put out in like 10 years.
Right.
Was that Angela Lansbury that voiced that?
Absolutely great. I will go ahead and let's see. Ed, why don't you go ahead and start us off this time?
Well, okay. I was just asking. I feel like that was Angela Lansbury that did the mouse voice. I could be wrong. I may be remembering it, but yeah, this was I don't see her name in there. I could be wrong, but what an awesome film this was, and I actually forgot about it. It didn't even make my list. So I feel bad about that. I remember watching this, and I think Brian King in the chat said the owl scared the hell out of me as a kid, and I agree with you. I forgot about the owl, so I want to go back and watch this. This was a good film, and like you said, the animation was great. And we know everybody here in this stream is a Disney shill. We worship at the altar of Kathleen Kennedy, and so we hate this film because of that, right? No.
Curtis, make a note to never invite Ed back. No, anything? Is that it, Ed?
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's it.
All right. Let's hit digital next.
I remember going to see this movie in the theater. We used to go to the drive-in a lot more because of it was double features. But this is one of the few that we went to the theater and saw, and I remember as a kid loving it. And like I said, it was on, when I was making out a list of all the movies I liked in '82, it was on that list, and it made it into some of the cuts. It just didn't make it into the top 10. But I love this movie.
Yeah, I couldn't let it slip out of my top 10 because, the whole Don Bluth's first solo film.
Yeah, and I had forgotten that Dom DeLuise was in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of the voices.
Curtis, how about you, man? Anything to say about Secret of Nim?
It wasn't very secretive.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
No nymphos.
No, this movie, man, I used to love when it would come out in regular TV. And I used to wait every year for it to come on regular TV. But I just watched it the other day. It's great. It's so good to this day, I think. And I think a lot of people they should put it back out in the original format, like at the theaters or something, to see what today's audience would think about it.
And if they were going to do it, they should do it soon before Don Bluth dies.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. The animation is just so great. It had its little scary parts in there, like the owl and stuff.
yeah.
And it's a great movie. I thought I picked it on my top 10. I guess I didn't. It was one of those ones I had on the list, that's for sure. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Frank, did you ever see this film? All right, Moto's muted. So M3, how about you?
I think I've seen it as a kid, but I don't remember any of it. But with you guys talking about it, might be one that I'll check out.
I'm sorry.
No big deal. Moto, do you have anything to add about Secret of Nim?
Yeah, I just absolutely loved this movie. The animation was fantastic. The story was fantastic, and as a kid, you just loved it. It was great. It was a great movie. Great movie.
Indeed. Well, even with all that high praise, it still only made one person's top 10. Therefore, it gets the rank of D.
Wow.
Oh, it's only going to get tougher.
Shocker.
Yep.
I think this next one is our last D rank, if I'm correct. Yes, Zapped, picked by M3.
Yes.
Nice.
M3, why don't you tell us about your, how you fantasize about using telekinesis to peek at girls?
Hey, it's got the best people. Scott Baio and the kid right there in the red shirt. They did that sitcom together. I forget what it was.
Willie Ames.
That was great. And then
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I don't usually like to interrupt, but Scott Baio and the guy in the red T-shirt. Scott Baio is the guy in the red T-shirt.
Yes.
Look, my glasses on.
Is that
Oh yeah,
Charles
okay.
in charge?
And then his buddy's I forget his name, but
Willie
It's right up
Ames.
there, Willie
Yeah.
Ames.
Anyway, great team up right there. And then the girl that's in there is the blonde girl, the cheerleader, awesome. And these guys get, it's so stupid. He's like working in science class, at school. He gets hit in the head, all that shit, and it's great. Loved it. Anything with skirts flipping up and all that kind of stuff is good. Matter of fact, I just watched it the other probably 5 months ago. I just watched it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna check this movie out again. It brought back memories because I've only seen it the 2 times. When I first saw it when I was like 10 or 11, and then now as an adult, it's a good fun movie. I liked it.
Right. It was Heather Thomas in there.
Heather Thomas, yeah, thanks, man. What a great flick. Great fun flick.
All right. Moto, how about you? Have you ever seen Zapped?
Oh yeah, I loved it. And to me, look at the tagline. The tagline's great. That very much says it all. It's a raunchy comedy. It's just a good time, fun time, a lot of good funny scenes.
Curtis, how about you? You seemed excited for this one.
Yeah, I watched it a bunch of times when I was little. It was, you're in school and going through that whole thing with girls and stuff. It's like, it's great. It's funny. It's hilarious.
It occurs to me that this movie, it follows the same exact formula as 90% of anime, where it's a male power fantasy where the man gets like all these like crazy powers and becomes super strong, and then gets whatever girl it is he's trying to nail. Right. So this is like, I feel like anime stole a lot from this film. Ed, what do you think? Have you seen Zap?
Yeah, that's another one that I forgot. I probably should have put in my top 10. It was just a hilarious movie. It was kind of like the Porky's of that time, or similar. And those were just to a 12-year-old, whatever. Yeah, this might have been Academy Award winning. You know what I mean? Back in the day. So,
Right.
and yeah, Heather Thomas was as another one of those Heathers. You couldn't go wrong with a Heather in the 80s.
Right.
Good Lord, no.
Enough said.
Right. Digital, how about you? What did you think of Zap?
If I've ever seen it, I do not remember it.
I'm sure you'd remember that.
Well,
So I guess it's one of those movies that kind of just went under my radar, and
Yeah.
well,
that's,
with only
kinda cool.
M3 having picked it and me being super envious of Willie Ames' hand, we shall move on, because that is the last ranked D film. We're finally into something that two people picked. The Beastmaster. Digital Caveman and M3 both together picked The Beastmaster.
Yes.
Digital, why don't you start us off this time?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying I'm sure that M3 and I picked this movie for different reasons.
Come on.
But, this is a great adventure fantasy film. And, at the time, you weren't getting a lot of that kind of stuff at the time. But I say that, but in 82, it seemed like, there were three big, at least in my opinion, three big, fantasy type movies. And that's The Beastmaster, Conan, and Sword and the Sorcerer. But I want to say this one is probably, in my opinion, the best out of those three fantasy films of this year, as much as I like the other two.
Blasphemer.
I know. The fact that, he has this secret power that he can talk to animals, and, just the two little ferrets. I mean,
What did you call him?
come on.
All right,
you don't
well,
get a nice, it's adventure. It's got comedy thrown in there. It's got some sexy time stuff going on, and he's learning about the world for the first time. He kind of gets in trouble. He runs into those crazy bat people that like to like dissolve you. And so, but it's just a fantastic movie, just all around.
Right, the friction inside those bat wings has to be terrible if they can dry hump you to death. They like dry hump the flesh right off your bones.
I really hope for the people who were their victims or food, however you want to look at it. I really hope that is not the case. What's going on behind those wings? But
right.
They're kitten wings.
M3, you were the other person that picked this film. Why don't you come on and tell us how much you love Tawny Katane in it?
Yeah, great. I actually watched this last week just to bring back my memories. When I watched it as a kid, I thought it was pretty cool, just really cool. And the guy in it, he's from V with the lizard people that came down.
Yeah.
And
it's Mark Singer.
I've always liked him for that, just because of that. Same reason why I like Freddy Krueger, because he was in V as well. Great kitty shots, man. I mean, anytime you add that in, it pulls me in to watch the whole movie. It always has since I was in the first grade, right? So I think my dad brought this home for us to watch it on VCR. And we all sat and watched it as kids, and I thought it's a very cool concept. The Panther did really well in all the scenes, and he's just using it like to his he's trying to be noble to the girl, and you know, save her from the mean cat and shit, and he had it all planned because he's got that interaction. And the death scene where the melting people, I think that goes down in the history books for one of the most brutal murders. Fucking crazy. It just melts the dude into green, just slosh and fucking piling out. And then the other thing, last thing I was gonna say was, yeah, I'll have to get back to it. I totally forgot right now. But great.
All right. Well, I'll say I hated that they killed Kodo on camera, and I hated that they killed the tiger in real life.
Oh, wow.
Because that hair dye they put on that tiger died like 6 months later from complications with that stuff.
Oh, that's too bad. Oh, Prophet, I remember what I was going to say was the fucking, he was born inside of a fucking yak. And that's how he got his.
Oh, yeah.
And I was tripping on that because that part I didn't remember, but that's what gave him his beast master ability. Plus, he's got the magicians and stuff and demons working his ways and stuff, and they put him inside of the yak, and he's supposed to die and grew up to the fucking murder of Rip Torn, dude. Rip Torn's in the fucking movie. Yes. I was blown away by that too. I was like, what the hell? Rip Torn, if anybody don't know, I'm sure everybody does, but he's in Men in Black too. Men in Black and shit. Great movies. Great.
Right. Let's not forget he's also the coach in dodgeball. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Oh, yeah.
No, but yeah. So other than those negatives about the Beastmaster film, I have to say this movie gave me nightmares for a little while because when they're introducing the witches and the camera slowly pans up from the ground and you see this sexy body. And then it gets to the top, and there's this decrepit, zombified witch face. It's like, oh. So yeah, I had nightmares about that for a while after that because that was horrifying.
That's great.
But yeah, this movie was great. But I think, as we'll see later on this list, Digital saying it's the best of the three, I have to disagree with. Let's move on to Curtis. Curtis, Curtis is gone.
No, I'm right here.
Oh, you've
He's invisible.
There you are. You go, the ghost of Curtis.
He John Cena does.
Tell us what he thinks of the Beastmaster.
Yeah, that was another great movie as a kid. It came out on cable in the wintertime, and I used to go down the street to this girl's house and watch it all the time, man. They were always calling me over to watch that movie. That was a great movie. I love the ferrets. The ferrets were badass. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, one dies. Right? Am I correct?
You are, but the other one was pregnant, so it's supposed to be okay.
Yeah. But yeah. You guys pretty much covered everything else on it, so I'm done.
Frank, is he right? Did we cover everything else on it?
Pretty much. I'm going to tell you, this movie, to me, I did love it, and I'm right there, Digital Caveman. Of this year, the three movies were damn near on my list, but this one didn't make it because I thought the other two were slightly better for different reasons. But I loved this movie as a kid. I mean, it was a fantasy movie. Fantasy genre was becoming popular because of another movie that I'm sure is going to be discussed coming up later. But just to add that every time that this was on, this was a movie that I would sit down and watch.
Nice. Ed, how about you?
I kind of put this film along with movies like Clash of the Titans from the 80s. I know they're different. They're not the same, but I just kind of, in my mind, I kind of group them together. I don't know why. Maybe because of the sci-fi fantasy part of it, but it's a good film. I don't know that it holds up, by today's standards, but I'm not judging it on today's standards. It was a good film back in the day.
I have to agree. I did enjoy this film, but it was only picked by two people, so it gets the rank of C. Moving on, the next film was also only picked by two people. See, now this is how you know that this was a damn good year for films. Because if this was only picked by two people, Like, it was hard for me to leave this off my list, but this was Ed and Moto picked this. So Moto, why don't you start us off? Because I know you've got a lot to say about Rocky 3.
Oh yes, Rocky 3 is it's an iconic sports drama film. It captivated audiences, man. It's thrilling boxing action and the emotional storyline in this one. This is where Mickey passes. You know what I mean? The film soundtrack plays a pivotal role in capturing the essence of Rocky 3. I mean, you know what I mean? That's when we got the Eye of the Tiger. You know, and that damn I pity the fool and pain and just it was just a great. What with its unforgettable characters and its powerful performances and just the music, it continues to captivate generations of viewers. I know my kid loves to watch it, my youngest. So to me, it's a must-watch film that combines gripping boxing action with a heartfelt exploration of personal growth, man. And I'm done with it.
Hey, Big M, thanks for stopping by. Ed, what did you you picked Rocky 3 as well. Give us your take.
After you said what you said about how tight the films were at the competition, I'm still surprised that this didn't show up on more people's lists. This is one of the quintessential Rocky films, not the quintessential, but it's, if you think about Rocky, you think about the first one, you think about Gonna Fly Now, you think about the theme song, then Rocky 3, you think about Eye of the Tiger. I mean, who can forget? And Emoto covered pretty much everything on this, but like Mickey passing was very emotional. I was a young kid and I felt that. And then Clubber Lang, Mr. T, come on now. what a great iconic performance. Had he not done this film, I don't think he would have been as big in the A-Team, or was he in the A-Team first? I can't remember. But I feel like this just really elevated his career to a new level. And this film is just iconic. For me, it's one of my favorites. It's not my favorite Rocky film, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of my favorites. So it was a good film.
Yeah. May I add something real quick to that?
Sure.
This movie was actually directed and written by Stallone.
Oh yeah, the Rocky series is all his, man. It goes to show why he's so much more talented than his porno acting brother.
Great Stallone, yeah.
But I have an interesting story about Rocky 3. And I could tell you, Ed, that it did come out before A-Team because by the time the A-Team was out, because Rocky 3 was the first time I'd ever seen Mr. T. And I was a little kid.
Yep.
And, we had seen the trailer and, how mean he was in the trailer.
This is where Mohawk haircuts
my family
came
had
from.
taken me to the Taste of Chicago. It's like a festival that happens every year. All the restaurants bring their food for, whatever. And I saw Mr. T there and I shouted at him, Mr. T, I think I called him Clubber. I didn't call him Mr. T because I didn't, I said, you bum, Rocky's going to beat your ass, as a little kid. And then years later, I met him again and apologized for being an idiot kid and thinking that, the movies were real and whatnot. He didn't remember, obviously, but he was a very nice man. Mr. T is a very, very nice man. And I will pass it on to Digital.
Yeah, the thing I remember about seeing this one as a kid is just, it was Mr. T and like, who is this guy? He's got this mohawk. He's pitying fools. And, and again, like it's already been said that, the soundtrack for this movie, unfortunately for me, when I think of a Rocky movie, this is not the one I really think of. It's not the one that I saw the most. And that one was Rocky IV. And, unfortunately, when I think of Rocky, that 4 is what I think of. Not that, 4 was the worst entry in the series or anything, but, that's just the one that I happen to watch the most. And so I don't really have a whole lot to say about 3 that hadn't hadn't already been said.
Yeah, for me, I think the reason I was able to leave it off was because I view Rockies 1 and 2 as a complete saga. Curtis, what about you? What did you think of Rocky 3?
I actually really liked it. It was the first one I saw out of all the Rockies. They had Mr. T and Hulk Hogan in it and all that stuff. Yeah, that was, for me, it was great. I definitely say watch it if you haven't.
Mm-hmm. M3.
I seen it. I remember it. 4 is my favorite, and 1 is my favorite. I've seen 3 one time, and they like Jason. All the Rocky movies kind of like they are what they are. It's like he's down and out, and then he comes up, and then he this and that. I love Rocky, and that's not a put down. That's just like how they all blend in for me. But 4 stands out because of Drago. I will crush you. I will crush you. Felt great. Drago's my favorite too, though. That's all I got.
Yeah, I feel like the Rocky movies started with Empire Strikes Back, because Rocky 1 was Empire Strikes Back, the bad guys win. And then Rocky 2, he gets his vengeance and turns the bad guy good. It's fucking Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, with only two votes, Rocky 3 sadly gets a rank of C. Next up, The Sword and the Sorcerer, picked by DC and Moto. So last time Moto went first. DC, why don't you go first this time?
Okay, I mean, how many movies have you ever seen where the hero gets a 3-bladed sword that 2 of those blades are like air powered, or I guess in the movie they were magic powered, and they would shoo, shoo, you could shoot them at people. I mean, that was just crazy. And then like the main villain, the snake guy, and just this movie was kind of crazy. I mean, it just was. And again, fantasy movie, and there just wasn't a lot to watch in that genre at the time, if that's what you really wanted to watch. And that always, science fiction and fantasy and adventure movies, that's really what captured my imagination as a child, and this movie did a good job of that, at least through nostalgia, I guess, that it has a special place for me, and I liked it. I still like it today.
Moto, I assume that you have a similar story for us.
Yeah, pretty much. This young man, just another one of these 80s fantasies, but this young boy sees his family killed, grabs his dad's sword. It's the 3-bladed sword. And he goes on a revenge, you know what I mean? But real quick before I forget, what I really dug about this movie, it had a budget of $4 million, and it did $39.1 million at the box office that year. So it was a huge success. But yeah, he sets off on his quests, and he gets his revenge and takes that big constrictor snake, a giant constrictor snake, from, what was her name, Alana, I think it was. And then the best part is just when you think the sword couldn't get any better, he ends up killing a dude with the spring from the back of the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I want that sword. And next thing you know, I remember that sword, and that sword was everywhere. You could actually buy that sword as a kid. I remember that.
And it's surprising that, on a $4 million budget and making what it made, that we didn't get the sequel that was promised at the end of the credits.
Yes, they head off to another adventure. Yes.
Yeah, I have to say, for my part, I loved this movie as a kid, but rewatching it as an adult, it doesn't really hold up for me. The other 2 of the 3 that you mentioned, DC, are much better, in my opinion.
Well, I will say this is the least of the three, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Conan,
That's where I'm
sword.
at with it as well. M3, what did you think of The Sword and the Sorcerer?
I've never seen it.
All right. Ed, how about you?
It's easy to follow that review. I was just thinking how many of these films like that we mentioned, like Sword and the Sorcerer. I think this was, I don't know when Dungeons and Dragons the game became a thing, but I feel like there was a big underground culture and it seeped into movies. This mythology, Clash of the Titans, some Lord of the Rings. I feel like this was like a really good time, the early '80s, for a lot of that mythology to like literally play out on the screen. And this was a good film. It was a good film. It didn't make my top 10, but I remember it being a good film, and at least 12-year-old me liked it. So that's that.
Nice. Curtis, how about you?
Yeah, I liked it. I watched it quite a few times. There's a character in here, the actor kind of looks like somebody we know in our YouTube family, I think.
Who would that be?
But I ain't gonna say
Oh,
it.
Yes, I look exactly like Lee Horsley.
No, not you.
You look like that snake woman. What are you talking about?
But yeah, it's a good watch. Watch it from time to time. Like you guys said, it's not the best one, but it's up there. It was something to watch.
Well, The Sword had 3 blades, but it couldn't get 3 votes. So it gets the rank of C. Yeah, and I have to say that the 3-bladed sword that shoots, Attack on Titan did it better. Anyways. Next up, we've got 48 Hours. Another one only picked by 2 people. Crazy. But,
That's crazy.
again, that just speaks to the selection that was available. This was picked by Ed at M3. M3, why don't you lead us off real quick on 48 Hours?
New sheriff in town.
It's a good movie. I liked it. I've only seen it maybe once or twice. My wife likes these kind of movies too. Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte, a great pair. They did good with each other. I'm always a fan of Nick Nolte. I liked him in the movie Beverly Hills. He did really great as the bum. And Eddie Murphy, right here in this picture, I bet he was only like 30. He started out young and did really well with his career. So 48 Hours, I couldn't remember anything like real specific to bring up, but I did like the movie. It's fucking good. That's all.
All right, Ed. That's why I let M3 go first. I figured you'd elaborate a whole lot further.
Wait, well, I'm going to try. In this movie, I remember Nick Nolte being the grumpy one, and Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, his star was definitely, he was white hot in the 80s. I mean, he just really was. And this reminds me of the Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, Lethal Weapon kind of buddy cop, even though they were both cops. This is a convict or whatever and a cop. But this is where we get the famous scene. Like we get Eddie Murphy singing the Police's song Roxanne in jail. That's so iconic, the way Eddie Murphy did that. And just him and Nick Nolte, they were just, he was just picking at Nick Nolte the whole time. And Nick Nolte is basically Danny Glover saying, I'm too old for this shit, through the film. And I love that, the gruffness of him and the craziness of Eddie Murphy. They were great. And like I said, the title on there is The Boys Are Back in Town. And yeah, they definitely were. And I think they made a sequel, another 48 Hours.
Yes.
But I don't remember that as well. But I remember this. Was it for real? Wow. But this is definitely a classic. And I'm very surprised, but it, like Prophet said, it shows what kind of competition there is in 1982 for the top films. And this is definitely one of my picks.
Nice. Curtis, what did you like about 48 Hours?
I liked it all. I liked everything on it. You had you had people that were going to be in the future movie Predator in this. You had all kinds of good actors. It was just good old Eddie Murphy comedy, you know. And Nick Nolte was great with him. He mixed really good with Eddie Murphy. But that's all I really got to say. I watch this every once in a while, so it's one I still watch today.
All right. Digital, how about you?
This is one of those. I've seen it a few times over the years. It's not on my, I've got to watch it every year or anything like that. And I don't actually think I saw this one until the another 48 hours was in theaters. So I was like, well, we need to rent the VHS so I can watch the original before I watch the new one, and I remember it being funny. And, every great comedian has, well, I guess they don't have to have, but, a great straight man makes for a better comedian, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Makes the comedian funnier if the straight man is just totally into that,
right?
Into that role,
right?
And it was done really, really well in this one. And like Ed was saying that Nick Nolte was the grumpy older guy, and then Eddie Murphy was the convict, which they had to work together on a stakeout for 48 hours.
And I know what you mean about the grumpy old straight man making the comedic one better. I mean, imagine how bad Will Smith would have been without Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black.
And I think this movie kind of set up that formula for the buddy cop movie.
Definitely,
right? Because all the '70s cop movies were like one dude, Serpico,
Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry, yeah, or the French Connection, it was just Hackman,
Charles Bronson.
Moto, how about you? Anything to add about 48 Hours?
Oh, I like this movie a lot. It the two total opposites in the way that Eddie Murphy fucks with him. That makes him grumpy and angry and so pissed off at the time you think he's gonna have a heart attack any damn second. Eddie Murphy's character when he's in the bars, when he's in this, all his scenes. I mean, obviously it was his first film and he nailed it. Yeah, it was great comedy and good story. And the ending was kind of fucked, but it is what it is.
All right. Well, another great movie that only gets a rank of C because there's just too much other good shit. Like this, for example. Poltergeist, picked by M3, myself, and Curtis. Poltergeist, I'm going to go ahead and start just because this is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Even though Curtis came as a ghost today and probably should start, but fuck him. This movie is absolutely incredible. There were so many like nightmare-inducing scenes in this, like the clown attacking the boy, the tree coming in through the window and trying to eat the poor kid. Fucking oh my god. And the parents were just likable, real people. I mean, they put the kids to bed and then had a joint and we're gonna have sex,
Yeah.
The daughter, obviously a smart girl, knew how to handle the construction crew hitting on her, right? But the ghosts, man, the like you don't even see like what the terror is for most of the film. But it does such an amazing job of and it starts out with the wonder, right? Like they're like, oh, look, she can slide across the floor, isn't this fun? And then it becomes not fun, and it's and who doesn't love that tiny little woman? this house is clean.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, but that's, and it's also kind of an allegory on what, kind of bullshit corporate America does. Like, move the headstones, but not the graves because they want to build a shopping mall.
Right.
But anyways, Curtis, you picked this as well. Go ahead. I've ranted long enough.
The oldest daughter was hot when I was a kid. Too bad she didn't survive. This got me kind of scared, and there was, like you said, there was no like real monsters. It was just lights going through the air, and doors shutting and stuff. You didn't really see any type of figure, really. What else? They had also all the great, like real people type moments, like you said, Prophet. It was just I haven't watched it in a long time, and I gotta watch it. I thought it was a decent franchise, but this was definitely the best of the Poltergeist franchise. That's all
I agree wholeheartedly. All right, and the last person was M3. What have you got to say about Poltergeist?
Yeah, so Poltergeist the definition is a mischievous demon, right? And they did show a monster. Remember when he was all that big white skeleton, large, looked like a fucking.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
That was just one of, but demons will get in your head and they'll start making you think. Like when the guy went to the crewman, the newsman, or the photographer went into the bathroom, the chicken was crawling across, or the steak was crawling across the counter. It was fucking disgusting. And then he went to the bathroom, started like tearing his face apart, and then wham, immediately just went back to normal. He's like, what the fuck? So shit was all around. The little girl Carol Ann, actually, when she actually died at a really young age, and they attributed it to all the demonic stuff that they were doing on the film set. And it could be coincidence, of course, but that's something that I heard. And I was young when I saw this, and it didn't give me nightmares, but it made me think. And we went to church from the time I was in my mom's belly all the way up until 6th grade. And Poltergeist was one where you just knew that there is shit like that out there, and all of that stuff. It's crazy. This movie and the second one did really good. I don't really remember the third one.
The older sister in that, she died as well. She died before the girl who played Caroline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but the when the mom's in the kitchen and the all the chairs pile up and she turns around, she gets like hella scared. Like you go down and it's crazy, and it's good stuff, and you can interact with that in your head. It tripped me out. I liked it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we just lost Ed, so Digital, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those. I won't say it was like super scary, but it was creepy as shit.
Yeah.
I mean, just the stuff leading up to, when they pulled her into the other dimension or whatever it was. And then, you learn at the end, oh, well, it's all because, the corporation that the dad worked for, decided to build on an Indian burial ground. And, screw that it used to be a place for the dead to rest. We're just going to build houses there. And probably didn't even move the body. They probably just kicked stuff over. And,
well, that was what they said in the film when Craig T. Nelson's like shouting at his boss. He's like, you moved the headstones, but you left the bodies.
And and that's another thing I want to say. After he leaves that company because of all of this, he goes on to coach a football team.
Yes.
So, but that's my thought. It's a great film, and I enjoy still watching it occasionally now. I don't get a chance to watch stuff like that a whole lot because the rest of my family doesn't. They don't really like to watch that kind of stuff. So,
another question this movie raises is, which Craig T. Nelson wife is hotter, the one from this or Mrs. Incredible? Moto Viper, anything to add about Poltergeist?
Yeah, the movie was awesome. It was great. It shook me as a child. Didn't have nightmares or anything like that, but it definitely the whole spirit demonic thing got in my head because of this movie. Like Mo M3 said about the dude face peeling in the mirror was gnarly.
Yeah.
The little dwarf lady saying this house is clear and all that shit, she freaked me out. But this, that's a new suburb being put on top of an Indian burial ground, and that whole thing. And it's funny because we kind of lived in that kind of community where everything was being developed,
I think
So
it
we can relate to that.
wasn't an actual burial ground.
And little side note, in the movie, I can't remember her name that played the wife, the actress's name, but she didn't know that in the pool scene when it was filling up with water and corpses, that those were actually real corpses that you borrowed by UCLA.
What?
Yeah.
No. Why would
I remember hearing that, and that was like later in my teenager years.
Why would they do that?
To
Hey,
get
save money.
It was, yeah, I was supposed to say it was probably cheaper than getting props made.
Wow.
It's immoral though. Like, why would they do that?
Maybe they've donated their body to science on their ID.
Well, yeah, but that's not science, is it?
Yeah.
Anyways,
movie science.
Poltergeist, as great a movie as it was, it only got 3 of us to vote for it, but that's not bad. It gets a rank of B. All right, moving on. The next one. Hopefully Ed gets back soon because this was one of his picks along with Moto and Curtis. Moto, you just went last, so why don't you go first on Porky's?
Oh, Porky's is the one, the raunchy comedy that set it off. It's
There's a hole on that penis. That's what it said.
This ball breaker was great.
Yes.
I mean, this story revolves around a group of high school friends, who attended high school in Florida. I think it's 1954 is the year. And everything is, mischievous, sex obsessed, Pee Wee Morse. He's always a little horny little Pee Wee.
Yeah.
I mean, their quest for sexual experiences, adventures, leads into that Astoria strip club called Porky's. But anyway, the little misfits, these high schoolers, the men of Porky's, fuck them up and embarrass the shit out of them. So these kids want their revenge, and so it was a commercial success, grossing over 105 million at the box office. You know what I mean? It was just So it was their antics to range from spying on the girls' locker room, causing chaos during a beauty contest, and even building a trap in Porky's outhouse. I mean, it was the film humor stems from those boys' outrageous attempts to satisfy their teenage desires, and while they're navigating the challenges of school life and their strict parents and all that shit. It was just a great movie, man. It was a great wholesome story, funny as hell, and I got to see boobies.
Awesome.
Good to see that.
Curtis, or the ghost of Curtis, you picked this as well. Why don't you give a little talk about it?
Yeah, you got to see full bush too, man. What are you talking about? Just titties, man. Full bush.
We got bush.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Polly Penis, and I'm here to inspect all unlicensed pussies. Dude, there were so many great lines in that movie. It was hilarious.
The screaming teacher, or the screaming teacher that couldn't stop, and everybody laughing.
Why do they call you Lassie? Echoes through the entire gym.
Yep.
Nice.
Well,
great.
There's full frontal nudity in this. So M3, I'm sure you've seen it a lot. Why don't you tell us what you thought of Porky?
No, I swear on my life, I've never seen this all the way through. I've seen clips of certain things on YouTube, but I've never watched it from start to finish. And as much as I'm a titty guy and a butt guy, I just know that there's the parts that you guys are talking about. They don't ring a bell. I remember the dick getting pulled hella long and shit. I remember that part. And then they were like, there was like a hole in the, like, obviously what's in the fucking thumbnail here, but yeah, that's all I got. I never saw it.
Tommy Turner, I know that is you. There's a one.
All right. Digital, anything you want to add about Porky's?
It had a mole on it. But I texted Ed. He's having some technical difficulties with his sound, so he's rebooting his computer. But as far as Porky's goes, it for me, the first one, and the second one, kind of there's lots of it that run together because they're so similar. Mm-hmm. But just fantastic coming of age sexual R-rated comedy that we'll probably never see get made again.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny as shit. And M3, as much as you love this type of movie, you should watch this movie. The first one and the second one. The third one, meh. But the first one and the second one, definitely you need to watch.
Right on.
Well, this got voted by 3 people, so it gets a respectable B.
Boogie, 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 boogie.
That's kind of, it's kind of hurting my eyes a little bit here. Seeing Rocky 3 as a C and Porky's as a B. But, what are you going to do, man? That's the way people voted. All right, so next up we have Fast Times at Ridgemount High. This was me, Moto, and Ed picked this
Welcome
one.
back, Ed. Welcome back, Ed.
Welcome back, Ed.
Hey, Ed, you're back. Awesome. You can start us off on Fast Times at Ridgemount High.
Can you
No
hear
sound, Ed. We can't hear you, buddy.
Oh.
He can't hear us.
All right, we'll start with Moto then. Moto, Fast Times.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. I love this movie. Oh, shit.
All right. Well, Fast Times,
Here
dude.
you go.
This is a
crazy.
great movie. Just, I mean, right from the beginning, let's just say Phoebe Gates pool scene.
Running through there.
All right, number one. But this is a coming of age film, definitely for sure. A group of high school students again, but this time in SoCal, and it's some of the actors, the up and coming actors now. The Sean Penns, the Judge Reinhold's, Phoebe Cates that I just noticed or just stated. I'm sorry. So much talented performers, and then it explores various themes as peer pressure, identity, sex, the pursuit of freedom, and all the good stuff, man. And it also portrays the struggles and challenges that adolescents face, while also highlighting the humor and camaraderie that can be found during these formative years, which was great because I was watching this movie and I was 10. Well, probably maybe 11 because of VHS.
Nice.
Well, I've been watching since.
Ed is still trying to get it together. All right. Yeah, this movie was fantastic. I think my favorite character was the teacher, Mr. Hand, right? Is that
Mr. Hand, my favorite Martian guy.
Yeah. He was my favorite character in it. Just how he callously ate his pizza right in front of him.
Yeah.
But he saw the potential in the kid, and that's a good teacher. Kids don't need the teacher to be their friend. You know what I'm saying? And if your kid's teacher feels like they need to be the kid's friend, then I'd worry about that teacher. But anyways, yeah, this movie, I fucking love it. It's nonstop laughs. Phoebe Cates, another amazing childhood crush.
Yes.
Jennifer Jason Leigh as well, But what are you gonna do? Ed, are you back? Are you here?
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
you're a little staticky, but we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on. I think the Matrix crashed or something. Where do we leave off?
Well, it's your turn to talk about Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It should definitely be on everybody's list. How many people picked this?
3 of us.
3 of us. Oh, that's a shame. It should have
Yep,
been
you,
like
me, and
5 or
Moto.
6 of y'all.
We're the 3 that picked it.
Okay, yeah, fantastic. Jeff Spicoli, great character. This was along with another film we'll get to, was kind of like for a 12-year-old. This was very raunchy at the time, but it's still this film still crushes it in 2024. It's a classic. Love it. It's fantastic.
I mean, the soundtrack, if I can add, just the soundtrack alone is just phenomenal. From the Cars song for Phoebe Cates pool scene. We got the beat Go-Go's Somebody's Baby by Jackson Brown when we got to see, another, for our first time at our age, another booby.
Right. M3, I'm sure you've masturbated to Phoebe Cates. Why don't you tell us what you thought?
Actually, I've seen this movie one time back when we were watching. But my sister brought it home. My sister was born in '69, so I was born in '76. I never watched this all the way through.
I didn't think you could get pregnant that way.
Yeah, I never.
I'm glad you made the joke.
But I remember it being cool parts, and Phoebe Cates is absolutely gorgeous. I do remember the pool scene only from YouTube, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it.
Well, all right. Digital, what do you think?
Like M3, I hate to keep saying, I agree with M3, but again, this is one of those that I've maybe seen once or twice and enjoyed it, but it didn't stick with me.
Gotcha. Well, I know Curtis enjoyed it. He lived it. Curtis,
Yes.
now that you're not living anymore, why don't you tell us about Fast Times?
Yes, I saw this at the drive-in theater right after E.T. because they had to, you go to the drive-in, you get 2 movies.
Yeah.
And I was with my parents, and they were laughing at me because, like, the Phoebe Cates thing in my eye. I guess, I was only 7 years old, but my eyes were big and I was glued. And they started making fun of me, and I was like, no. But anyway,
Hold on, he's got a boner.
It has one of the best lines ever. I used to use this as a young private in the military, or in the army. It's but Mr. Hahn, if you're here and I'm here, wouldn't that make it our time? As because he ordered a pizza to the classroom. That's when he starts eating the pizza. He gives it away. But yeah, it was great. It's got a lot of great one-liners in there. It's got the whole scene in the food court where Phoebe Cates is trying to teach Jennifer, what's her name?
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, how to suck a dick with a carrot. Right, this shit was funny. You got it, man. If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it. It's a great movie.
Right, and don't just do like M3 and watch the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyways, with 3 votes, this gets a respectable rank of B. Next up, we've got another that only got 3, which shocks me. But yeah, this will be me, Ed, and Digital Caveman. And since Digital Caveman is the one with the bat left behind him, I'm going to let him start on this.
All right. So for Star Trek 2, Paramount decided to kind of not necessarily reinvent the franchise, but pretty much they took Gene Roddenberry off of the franchise. He only, for the rest of the movies, he only got an executive producer credit, and I'm sure he got some money for that too, but really didn't have a whole lot to do with the movies. This one, it was mostly Harv Bennett and Nicholas Meyer. And then, moving on from that, Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner become more involved in the process of making the movies as well. And, Leonard Nimoy actually had a good bit in this one too, as far as, he wanted Spock to die. But what I find is, for me, this is, of the original series crew, this is the best film for the original series crew. And Harv Bennett, when Paramount brought him in, he knew zero about Star Trek. So he pulled everything out of the vault and watched all 79 episodes.
Bam.
And the one that stuck with him was Space Seed, which was the episode of the original show that Khan came on. He was like, what if something really bad happens to this guy and Kirk never checks on him in 15 years? And, how would that, play out? And it was, I won't say it was a perfect movie. It wasn't a perfect movie because, we have that whole, Khan, at least on screen, we didn't see Khan meet Chekhov, yet he knew Chekhov. So, there might be a little bit of continuity issues with it, but this movie is one of the few movies as a child that actually made me cry at the end when Spock died. And it wasn't just that Spock died, but, here you have Kirk who, just loses his best friend, and it makes you think of what happens if I lose my best friend. And
especially
that's important as a child.
Willie Shatz gets choked up.
Yeah, he was the most.
And did this movie turn you into a blubbering mass as well?
For me, oh my gosh, this is not my favorite Star Trek film. What? I know. Take my geek card away now. It's very good, though. I don't deny how good it is and how powerful it was. And yeah, I'm sure we all shed a tear when Spock died. He made the noble sacrifice, and that was the most human thing that a Vulcan could do, and it's so iconic. And how you said, was it Harv Bennett, K-Man? You said went in the vault and watched everything.
Yeah.
I wish somebody could have Kathleen Kennedy do that before she made Star Wars. I don't know. I think you make better decisions. You do the lore right. But anyway, enough love for Kathleen.
No, because Harv Bennett cared and she doesn't care. So
exactly. And that's a difference in good stories. And this Ricardo Montalban, what a fantastic actor. We saw later in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek Into Darkness, Benedict Cumberbatch, great actor, great villain, but he wasn't Khan. No one could be Khan but Ricardo Montalban. He was like chewing up the scenery, man. He was loving every minute of being a villain. And those are the good villains. And you know what? Khan's not redeemable. He's not a Thanos. He wasn't a good guy. They did show kind of what he thought he was a good guy, but he wanted vengeance. And it says it right there. At the end of the universe is the beginning of vengeance. So Khan's one of the greatest villains, underrated, but one of the greatest villains in film history. And Star Trek 2, if you're a geek, should be on your list.
Given, right? I mean, yes. It's called The Wrath of Khan.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not the Snuggles of Khan.
Exactly. The Wrath. Very good. Very good.
But yeah, this movie, my favorite line is when Kirk just complains, all I did was get caught with my britches down.
Yeah.
Love that line. Great stuff. I love the 3D chess he plays with Khan, taking advantage of his old world brain. And yeah, obviously the funeral with Spock brought the waterworks to full functionality. Curtis, what did you think of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan?
I saw it at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the better of the Star Trek at the time, which was only one other. But and any type of movie or show like this that's sci-fi or action adventure, it's your villain that sets the tone of the movie. You have to have a good villain to make the story go. That's my opinion. And my other opinion is I'm not really a big Star Trek fan, so pretty much yeah.
No one's perfect.
Well, hey, you know that explains why you call it Star Trek.
Right.
Definitely Ricardo
you, Curtis.
Montalban. He showed us the Wrath of Khan, whereas Benjamin Cumberbatch showed us the minor irritation of Khan.
Yeah.
M3, have you seen this film at all?
I did. I watched it when it first came out. I only saw it the one time. I don't think I saw it in the theater. I don't mind Star Trek at all. I think it's pretty cool. But Ricardo Montalban is Mr. Rourke, and it didn't do it for me. And one of the iconic scenes to me is when they're trying to get information out of the guy and they get those worms and drop them down inside the fucking guy's ear.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's that feeling because your eardrum is there. And once that thing surpasses your eardrum, you're fucked. It hurts, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
And is this the movie also, or was it the third entry of Star Trek where they had they were trying to get the whale out of the ocean?
That's the fourth one.
Okay.
The fourth one. I like that one better.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a couple of years.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Most Star Trek, or most non-Star Trek fans that have watched Star Trek movies, Star Trek 4 is their go-to.
Yeah, and somebody,
Right.
I think Ed mentioned that when Spock sacrificed himself to die, that it's the most human thing a Vulcan can do. But he's only half Vulcan. Is that correct?
True.
Yes, that is correct.
Half
He's
human.
showing his human side.
Right. So I get that.
And you know, the thing is, it just occurred to me that how Heath Ledger's Joker makes Batman a better Batman in The Dark Knight. Khan totally matches, if not surpasses, Kirk in this. And Kirk is just really trying to hold his own because Kirk can usually defeat anybody with his wits, but he has a hard time with Khan, and that's what made Khan a great villain.
And
Moto,
your
what
hero,
did you think of Wrath of Khan?
Oh, I loved it. I'm not a Star Trek fan either, but my grandfather was, and so we went to the theater to see this movie. And in 3, you're right. I remember the worm scene, and I remember the scream, and
Yeah.
I remember the movie, and it was sad to see Spock die, but no waterworks for me because I just wasn't a fan, but it turned out it was a damn good movie.
Damn good movie indeed.
yes. And before we move on, I mean, I could talk about this movie all night, but I won't. But I do have a couple of last things to say on it, and everybody kind of touched on a little bit. Your hero can only be as heroic as your villain is villainous.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the better your villain is, the better your hero is going to be.
Exactly.
And the last thing I'm going to say is totally out of character for Gene Roddenberry. He actually told Harv Bennett after this movie came out and he saw it, he told Harv Bennett that you made a better Star Trek movie than I did.
Wow.
And then I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, well, he made a better Star Trek movie than anybody.
Pretty much.
But it still only got 3 votes, so a respectable B is all it gets. Next on the list,
woo!
Another one picked by 3. This is me, Digital, and Ed picked this one. I believe it's Ed's turn to go first. Tell us about Tron, Ed.
Tron was so freaking groundbreaking. The video game, when video games are in the arcade, so incredibly groundbreaking, and took too much of my money because I really sucked at the game. But the movie, the light cycles, I mean, there are so many things that y'all can probably articulate way better than I can about this film, but totally loved it. And and love to Tron. Is it Tron Legacy, the sequel? I
Yeah.
thought was a good, not great, but a good follow-up decades later. But the first is always usually the best, and this was definitely the best. So groundbreaking, so great, still holds up.
Digital.
I remember this is another one of those movies that I actually got to go to the theater and see rather than going to the drive-through, and just at the time, I didn't understand all the computer stuff. I mean, what kid really did, because computers were pretty new, as
Fantasy.
True.
But the story of this, even if going back and looking at it now, you're like, okay, well, they're calling this that, and that's not what it is, but just the story of it is so great. And Sark, communicating with the NPC, and it's always end of line, which that was a thing back then. But the throwing the discs, the games, the light cycles, the guards, I mean, what about this movie was not cool? And watching the movie, if you never watched any of the behind the scenes stuff, watching the movie, you'd think that, okay, like the suits that they're wearing when they're in the computer, they have like reflective, you'd think they would have reflective tape on them, but that's not the case. Every time it shows glowing on their suits, it's all hand animated. Every single bit of it.
Wow.
Wow.
And David Warner, guys, I mean, come on. What a great...
Yeah,
he plays a great villain.
Movie with David Warner as the villain is definitely going to like win some points for me, because David Warner's fantastic. This movie, it was like, because when you play a video game, you're trying to escape into that world, and Tron let you literally do that. I told you guys the story of the second time I went to see it at the Brighton Theater that got flooded. But the first time I went and saw it, I was, just riveted the entire time. I will say the movie slowed down a little bit in the second half, after they lost Ram.
Yeah.
Anyway. But fantastic film. I loved it. The toys were amazing. The light cycles with the ripcord, so good. Like Bruce Boxleiter plays the do-gooder really well in this. It's just an amazing film, and I love the sequel almost as much. And I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to Curtis.
I got Tron on it.
No, but the three that picked it already talked. So,
oh, wow, that's quick.
Yeah, welcome back.
No, yeah, it's a when I first saw it, I was just wowed. It's definitely memorable, and I haven't watched it in a while, and I want to go watch it. That means I want to watch the new one as well too, because I like the new one as well. But this one, it was Jeff Bridges and his acting, it just helped it out. It was good. I liked it.
Nice. M3.
I've never seen the original Tron. I've seen the second Tron. It's really good. I did have difficulty playing the game. We were talking about that last night. The spiders got me. I was the last segment of the game, which was only, I think, part 2, or the second segment when you drop your quarter in, was the spiders. I do love the Tron concept. The cycles were always super fucking cool.
Yeah.
In my memory. Just that alone blew me away as a kid. Again, I was 6 years old playing video games when we were going to like Spanky's or fucking pizza places and shit. And
You said
Tron was my nemesis, but I chose to not drop another quarter in after 2 quarters. It was beyond my fucking power. It was beyond my power. I couldn't do shit. But yeah, thank you. So,
Moto, anything to add about Tron? Moto's muted. So we will
Moto's
move
muted.
on. But yeah, Tron only got 3 people's votes. I thought it would get more.
There's
but it
Moto.
didn't.
Moto's back.
Moto's back. Moto's back.
Moto,
Yeah,
you're back.
I was speaking. I didn't realize that mic button got hit. I apologize for that. Yeah, this movie was great. Loved it as a kid. Everything was those big ass red tanks. I don't know what you would call them. But,
Yeah.
I mean, everything was great. I mean, but when you're the last one to comment, y'all said it. Y'all said y'all. There's not really much to add on to it other than a fantastic movie for 1982.
Yeah, this is another one of those I could talk about all night.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Speaking of villains, who was the villain in this one?
David Warner. 2 of us talked about it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed
You're
that.
lost in space.
He always plays.
See what happened? What has happened to Curtis is like he got shot with the digitizer, but it only half-assed worked. So
he's
only
halfway
half
stuck in a wormhole. He just
I am
Well,
walked
with
in.
3 votes, Tron is a respectable B.
I am now AI.
Now we're into the 4 vote picks.
Yes.
And this, like, personally, I wish it would have got one more because I believe Blade Runner deserves S tier. But I'm not the deciding factor. And since Moto, you went last time and we didn't leave you anything to say, why don't you start with Blade Runner?
Blade Runner is iconic science fiction movie. It's a Ridley Scott movie. I mean, there's a dystopian future. It was just the city to me amazed me. It awed me as a kid. And I believe her name is Sean Young. Is that the woman's name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rachel is Sean Young.
Goodness. Oh my goodness, Rachel. Enough said. But yeah, Deckard, played by Harrison Ford. He's got to hunt down these humanoid robots, these replicants. What was the thing they used to like to call them? Skin jobs, I think they called them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not only visual and auditory masterpiece, but it's also a thought-provoking narrative that, to me, raises philosophical questions about it means to be a human. You know, the end with Rutger Hauer, just amazing, powerful performance. And then everything in between. Daryl Hannah with her ninja judo.
Yeah.
Flip. I mean, if you're gonna land somewhere, hey, land there. Why not? But
if you gotta go, at least let me turn around and face the other way.
Right. But as he navigates this ambiguous world, you know, it's just explores themes of memories, consciousness, and emotional connection, and that's fucking Ridley Scott for you, man. And yeah, I was surprised this wasn't going to be an S as well. And I'll pass the torch.
Yeah, Ed, why don't you pick it up?
Yeah. What? Yeah, I'm surprised this isn't an S. Everybody talk about Tron being groundbreaking. This film is so groundbreaking, Blade Runner. And may I add, Blade Runner 2049, I know it did dismal at the box office, but we're so spoiled by high action films, you know, that we can't appreciate a good slow burn of a story. And I tell you, when I saw Blade Runner 2049, what a worthy sequel to it, to listen to it and experience it in IMAX 3D. The sound design is incredible. The whole storyline, you just really get drawn into this world. Great films like Lord of the Rings films, old school Star Wars films that just draw you in. Blade Runner takes you to a totally different universe. And rain has never been used, I think, better in a film than in the Blade Runner films. Just the weather elements, so many things. The cinematography is just beyond top notch. The special effects don't get in the way. They complement the story and everything that's going on. And it's just incredible. It's just an incredible film. And I'm sure Rutger Hauer, he was like your bad guy in the 80s, and he was a total kick ass in this film. I could go on and on, but I'll pass the torch to the next person. Fantastic masterpiece.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff, man. With the rain in particular, like you were saying. I mean, they even work it into the dialogue, you know. Those memories will be lost forever, like tears in rain. Digital, why don't you take it up?
Beautiful.
Well, this is one of those movies that, I mean, how many different versions of this movie actually exist? I mean,
Four that I know of.
there must be, I was supposed to say, at least 4. You know, like the theatrical and like, what is it, 2 directors and then the final cut or something like that. But, you know, as a kid, I remember being excited about, you know, last year was Raiders of the Lost Ark. So here's Harrison Ford back in a science fiction-y looking movie again when you see the commercials on TV. So I want to go see this movie with Han Solo, you know, but actually going to see it as a child, I did not understand anything about this movie. It was confusing to me as a child. And I really, not until I was an adult, really revisited this movie and understood it a lot better and have a much more of an appreciation for it now. But I do remember as you just being wowed by the visuals and then Rutger Hauer, he's just a badass. It doesn't matter what he's doing. He could be a blind ninja master or a bounty hunter or a replicant, or it doesn't matter.
Or a hitchhiker.
A hitchhiker, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, he was just a badass. And, you know, sexy women and well, I guess maybe not women, but you know, anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah, for me, Rachel kind of stole the show. All the like most meaningful shit happens with her. Like, have you ever taken the test yourself, Deckard? And she gets my favorite line in the entire film. Is this to test whether I'm a replicant or if I'm a lesbian? Right? Love it. Great stuff. I absolutely love the way the ending is kind of open-ended. You don't know if Rachel is on the same clock as the other replicants. And by the end of it, you're even questioning whether or not Deckard might be a replicant. Exactly. But I will say this, like if I had, you know, we're talking like fantasy world here, where you could have any toy you want from any movie. I would want Deckard with his spinner from this movie. Curtis, what about you? What did you think of Blade Runner since you didn't pick it?
I agree with Digital Caveman. You know, as a kid, I didn't understand it at all. I tried watching it quite a few times as an adult, and I just can't get into it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, you definitely have to be in the mood to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
And surprisingly, and this is probably why I bet M3 hasn't seen it, because you don't want to get high before watching it. You want to have your wits about you to catch it. M3, am I right? Have you seen this?
I went ahead and watched the second remake of it, or the remake of it with Ana de Armas and the gentleman.
Not a remake; it's a sequel.
Okay,
2049.
Yeah. So I watched that, and I love Ana de Armas. She's fucking so perfect, and she does really well in that movie. But I haven't seen this one at all. I'm good. I'm done.
I am not surprised, because if you had, it would be on your list, and it would be S tier. Damn it! Anyways, it's still A, which is pretty awesome, but it deserves S. Damn it!
First A of the night.
Anyways, the next A is was picked by Digital, M3, myself, and Curtis. It's the Dark Crystal. Curtis, you haven't got to go first in ages. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, the Dark Crystal. My dad took me to the movie theater to see that. Oh my god, it was awesome. It the visuals alone had me, just like the sets, the sets alone were just well done. And then like the puppet people or whatever was done really well. The story was great. I thought it was a good story. There was all these cool characters in it and stuff. So I'll let somebody else talk more about it that has more to say about it. But I just really liked it. I still watch it at least once a year.
Yeah.
Well, all I'll say about it is I want to ride a giant furry spider monkey. M3, what have you got to say about the Dark Crystal?
I actually wrote this down in my top 10, knowing what it was, but I had confused it with the Labyrinth. The Labyrinth is great, and so with Dark Crystal, I ended up watching it the other day, but I only got to about the 45 minutes in, and I had to do other things, and I haven't been drawn back enough to go back and watch it. But the puppeteering and Jim Henson, I know you could just see Jim Henson's in this, and I love all that real time shit that people had to build in order to make the movie. CGI takes over, and it's really kind of shameful in my opinion. CGI is great for some things, but for the Dark Crystal, this wouldn't have been cool CGI. You might as well have watched a cartoon at that point, because this is handmade 100%. Everything, every scene had something going on. Like when he was walking through the forest, and like all the little flowers kind of like escape back into their little homes. Those are probably people pulling, doing stuff. And I think that's where I get the respect for this movie, as well as the Labyrinth and movies of that esque. But that's all I got to say about it. It was great. Cool concept.
Yeah, everything was practical. Digital. What did you think of the Dark Crystal?
What a fucking genius is Jim Henson.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
Like the puppeteering, the designing of the puppets, the puppeteers, the story. What is not to love about this? Oh, I'll tell you what's not to love about this movie. The damn Skeks that's going around. So that is really the only annoying thing about this movie. I mean, the Beetle Warriors. It's just fantastical. And I forgot, when I was talking about there was only 3 top tier fantasy movies of the year, I was forgetting that the Dark Crystal was on my list for this year, because this is a fantastic fantasy movie as well. And I'm going to say I will go ahead and move this in place of Beastmaster. This is my favorite fantasy movie for 82.
Cool.
Yes.
Still blasphemous.
Well, I'm a blasphemer.
There's only one correct answer, and we'll get to it. All right, let's see. Ed, anything to say about the Dark Crystal?
I didn't put this in my top 10, and I'm looking over and seeing what I could throw out, but I don't really want to throw anything else out. This was Jim Henson, probably at his best, one of his best, other than, of course, Yoda. That, I love him for, and the Muppets
that was
and
Frank
everything
Oz,
else.
dude.
What did I say? I meant the puppetry. It was Frank Oz? It was. Okay. Never mind. I didn't say that. Retract that. But no, I love Jim Henson's work. I'm a big fan, and I've got the DVD somewhere. Where is it? Boom. This is how much I love Jim Henson. Yeah, I'm showing Jim Henson's Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And anybody who doesn't.
Thank God. I thought he was going to pull out his corpse or something.
No, that's buried in the backyard. But the thing is, the craftsmanship to just animate those puppets, not animate what animation as we know, but you know what I mean by animate, move them around and stuff like that. It's genius. This is like a kid's dream of a movie, of like a fantasy movie. And I don't care if you can see strings. I remember when my nephew was coming up and I showed him Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and his remark was, but you can see the strings. And I was like, oh, blasphemy. This is a masterpiece. So that's how high I rank Frank Oz and Jim Henson and making my childhood very memorable. And the Dark Crystal definitely probably deserves an S. Thanks.
Moto, anything to add to the Dark Crystal?
This movie was my number 11. I mean, 82 was really a hard year. This movie was great.
Amen.
Great story. I mean, everybody nailed it with the puppetry, the animatronics, the characters. It was great. This movie, another one of these movies that when it's on, I'll watch it. But back in the day, all the time when it was on cable, I was watching it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that gets a rank of A due to having 4 votes. The next film on the list is The Thing, also with 4 votes.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
Ed, M3, Moto, and myself that picked this.
Nice.
So let's see. M3, I don't think you've started one at all tonight. So why don't you start this one off? All right, Ed, why don't you start this one off?
Okay. This is one of the scariest films, science fiction films out there. It stands the test of time. Kurt Russell's so great in this. Everything about this film it's just iconic. The fact that this isn't an S kind of baffles me, but it once again shows the competition we had in 82 for great films. This should be at the top or near the top of most true sci-fi fans list. It's just a great film. I mean, I don't really honestly know what to say. Y'all can probably articulate it better than me, so I'll let y'all do that. But it's a great film. I love it.
Yeah. This film to me, like, because the real terror, it's if it's a separate monster, you can see it coming, you can get out your blowtorch, whatever. But when the monster could be the guy standing next to you, the guy cooking your meals.
True.
You know what I mean? That's some but Curtis, I'm sure this isn't on your list because of what they did to those poor huskies.
Yes.
But yeah, man, Kurt Russell, amazing in this film. The entire cast, like, there were so many like amazing performances in this thing. But yeah, and the ending being, I love a good ambiguous ending, and I actually kind of enjoyed the prequel to this that they filmed years later. I do wish they'd have gone with practical effects instead of digital, but
I liked it too.
What are you gonna do?
Mhm.
But yeah, this movie was pretty fantastic. It's probably in my top 3 horror films of all time, not just 82.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's right up there. Frank, why don't you take it from it?
For me, it's because of the special effects created by Rob Bottin are nothing. That's nothing short of revolutionary to me. The gruesome creature designs, the mind-boggling transformings are achieved without the use of modern CGI, dude. It's his incredible work. It involved puppetry again, animatronics, prosthetics, making the transformations believable and downright terrifying. The spider head was fucking gnarly. I loved it. And then the way who is the next one? Who is the next one? Who's the next one gonna be? And when dude's head splits open into a giant set of teeth and it just sucks up one dude's head.
Yeah.
It was great. Again, I'm in the 80s. I'm loving fantasy and I'm loving horror movies, and this ranks up there with one of my favorite all-time horror movies and science fiction horror film. To be more specific, it's number 1.
Yeah, I particularly like the scene where the stomach opens up and eats the dude's hands with the paddles.
Oh yeah.
M3, if you're back, what did you think of The Thing?
Yeah, man. My dad brought this home. I was young. I was putrefied, if that's a word, of this movie. The head that cringes down to the floor and gets the fucking legs and starts crawling away.
Yeah.
The scene that you just said where the guy's trying to operate on the guy and his stomach opens up and it's like these big shark teeth that just fucking clamp down, and he's fucking all they fucking burn shit. The dog scene was probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. This movie really, really hit home with me as one of those like, oh damn, what the fuck is this? I don't ever want to go to the Arctic. I don't ever want to find an alien thing, and I don't ever want to try and thaw it out because fuck that. Damn, it's a great movie. Kurt Russell is one of my all-time favorite fucking just men of men. I like him a lot. Everything he's in. Kurt Russell. Knowing back then, I didn't know it was Kurt Russell, but now I know it was Kurt Russell. And the whole thing where they get the blood in the petri dish and they heat the fucking wire up and they're screeching the blood across. And the thing wasn't a bad guy. The thing was just, hey, you guys woke me up and this is my life. I didn't choose this path. I'm just trying to find something that can fucking host me, right? And they went crazy burning it. And it's like the alien was probably a dude. It was like, hey, I can't fit with you guys. Give me a break here. You know,
He was just chilling, man.
yeah, like I was sleeping, fuckers.
Hey, you know, if pests invade your house, man, you eradicate them, man. You don't sympathize with them.
Mhm.
Anyways, Curtis, from the astral plane, give us your opinion from the great beyond.
From the asshole plane.
Oh dear.
Yeah, this was for me. This is one of my favorites of all time, and it's not on the list though. It could have been easily on the list. I figured everybody was going to pick it, so I chose some other things that people didn't think were going to pick, so I could get the word out there about that movie or whatever. But yeah, this movie was fantastic and scary. It scared the shit out of me, just like M3 said. I was like, man, I don't want something like that getting in me. How do I, what the, you know, it had a whole thing. And of course the dog scene was like, that was at least 10 minutes long, wasn't it? Where the whole dog kennel got lit up. And they started turning into monsters and getting eaten up themselves, and it's crazy.
That was something out of Ohio, I think.
Out of Ohio.
Digital, what did you think about the thing?
Well, I'm going to tell you, y'all are all wrong about what was frozen, and they unfroze it. What they unfroze was not an alien. It was the goddamn diabetes. Because Wilford Brimley had to have the diabetes. So that's what it was. But visually, I mean, what a fantastic movie for the time. And I mean, the effects were just, I mean, even today, it's hard to beat that with practical effects. And hell, even with CGI.
Yeah.
It didn't look, totally realistic, but it looked realistic enough to scare the piss out of you.
Yeah.
So, but that's all I gotta say. It's all the damn diabetes.
Like, oh my God.
Well, I think we've all talked about the thing enough.
What thing?
But it
Always
got
talking about all
4 votes.
The diabetes.
And therefore, a rank of A. Next
I got
on the
a
list,
question.
this is one of our first S rank with 5 people. Pretty much everyone but me picked First Blood.
You should go first.
Let's see. We're just gonna go from the bottom to the top. Ed, start us off.
Man, Rambo. Come on, First Blood. This is oh man. They're all good. They're cheesy and some of them are not so good, but man, it's just, this is when they had endless ammunition. You just keep firing, and we didn't care. We're just like,
Shoot
the
that
more
shit.
the merrier. Keep shooting all the way up to like the last Rambo, which was probably the most goriest.
It was the
Rambo films,
bloodiest.
the bloodiest, and I still loved it, man. Exactly. Yeah, it sounds like my ship just came in, but but First Blood, man, it's just great. Y'all can probably articulate it better than me, but a great film. It deserves an S.
Digital, how about you?
Well, you know, for me, this one, the first one, was probably well, I won't say probably. It is the most compelling out of the entire series story wise, because here you basically got this vet who's homeless and he's roaming around. So he comes into this town because he's coming to see his old buddy. Well, he finds out his old buddy's dead, and he's finding that more and more. And he's feeling really isolated. And then all of a sudden, here comes Barney Badass Cop, and is like, "Hey, get the fuck out of my town. I'll give you a ride. Okay, we're across the bridge. Get the fuck out. I don't ever want to see you again." And it kind of pisses him off a little. So what does he do? He pushes back. And it everybody's reaction in this movie, it got a little out of hand. And the only one that really is justified is John Rambo, even though he kind of escalates it a little further than maybe what it needed to be, the heights it needed to be taken to, but that's all he knew. So I enjoy the Rambo movies. Maybe
They drew First Blood. Right?
maybe maybe not
Exactly.
maybe not the third one as much, but for me, this one was the most compelling story wise.
It was more grounded.
Yes.
Moto,
it
how
was
about
based,
you?
Oh man, this movie is classic. It's so good. Put it to you this way: how many of us had Rambo survival knives after this movie?
Oh
came
hell
out?
yeah.
Them shits were everywhere, man. Everybody had one, and they had different types, and they were great. That's how popular this movie was. This guy coming to see one of his old buddies, his old Vietnam War veteran buddies, and finds out he passes away from cancer, and like you said, he gets stopped by that sheriff, Teasel. Gets
Barney
stopped by
Badass.
yeah, and says, well, just like to keep the vagrants out of the town, and offers to give him a ride, So, but of course, he comes back to the town, and that gets him charges of vagrancy, resisting arrest, possessing a concealed knife, So they're just fucking with him, and he snaps and he fights his way out of the sheriff's station, regains his knife, and flees on a motorcycle into the woods, right? But then that one dude, that asshole, gets in the helicopter and starts shooting at him and stuff. And becomes unstable on that cliff, and the helicopter pilot had a hard time. That dude falls out, and then the next thing you know, they're accusing him of, killing that sheriff, and it just turns into one great big mess. But you realize that this guy's he's a Green Beret.
Right. Well, I've heard that the sheriff has joined the gender weird people, and he now goes by Brian Dennis Shee.
Oh God.
M3, how about you?
Oh yeah, great movie. I picked this one because back when I watched it, I was in the 3rd grade, and we were all playing Rambo out on the fucking playground and shit, and everybody wanted to be John Rambo. It was just great. You guys Digital hit it really good. Exactly what I would say for everything. It's kind of easy, but also one of the guys that he was looking for in his little book in the beginning was Ortega, and shout out me because that's my last name, motherfuckers. Yeah, I was like, oh shit. But that was cool. Just for we get a mention in the movie, but the whole movie from start to finish, I would watch it right now if you guys were like, hey, you want to watch that? I'd be like, absolutely. It's great. When he's in the woods is one of my favorite parts. He starts doing the fucking booby traps. Booby traps were phenomenal. You got the stakes going in that guy's fucking legs, dude. Dude, this guy fucking jumped out of a tree and killed a boar with that knife. I've had many fucking Rambo knives, and actually, I'm looking for. I looked for it before on eBay, the replica from the movie prop, his one from this one. I don't think that the other ones are corny at all. I think somebody said that earlier. I think First Blood 1, 2, 3 are great. 4, 5, the last one, because it deals with like the cartel and shit. He did a fucking legacy, and shout out to Sylvester Stallone for writing all these as well. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I mean he's involved in a really good, iconic, perfect fucking series. I loved it. It was great. That's all I got.
Hey, M3, I was thinking that, there'd be no Home Alone movies without Rambo movies, because he the one that set all the booby traps first, and then Kevin did it later. So they should have tied the two movies together.
If anything, we could say we've established that M3 likes boobies even when they're not breasts.
Even if they're a trap.
Curtis, how about you?
This is really, really good. I was all into it just like everybody else and stuff. And it's great mindless entertainment because, just like Ed said, unlimited bullets, and they just keep going and going like an Energizer bunny. But yeah, it's the whole thing. You guys covered everything. Not much for me to say now on it. But
I was thinking about the veterans, because if you think about the culture then, we were finally recognizing or maybe apologizing in some ways as a country for how we treated Vietnam veterans when they came home, got spat on, and everything else wouldn't get hired. I mean, you see this when we get into the patriotism of the 80s, and like Born in USA, that the song by Springsteen touches on it. And I think it's in one of the later ones, 2 or 3, of Rambo, where they say, Johnny, what do you want? And he's like, we just want our country to love us the way we love it. And I mean, that just comes back to the core of First Blood,
Well, it seems that we've drawn first, second, and third blood here, so we'll move right along. That is our first S-ranked film, though, with 5 votes. Now, I believe there's one more with 5, and then the only movie of the year that got all the votes. But here is the best fantasy film of the year.
Debatable.
I don't care about people saying it's The Dark Crystal or Beastmaster. Nothing beats Conan. And there's one person in this panel that likes Conan more than I do. So, Frank, you can go first.
Oh no, that's great. Thank you. It's a legendary film. It's carved its name into the annals of cinema history. Sorry, I got military helicopters flying over us right now.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. I mean, and of course, it has the late great James Earl Jones as Thulsa Doom, the guy that can turn into a snake, turn snakes into arrows. It's great. It introduced Arnold Schwarzenegger. To me, it introduced Arnold Schwarzenegger into the movies. I mean, the futuristic, the fantasy, again, just being a huge fan of that at the time. And when he dumps that big bowl of human soup and that head rolls out, I'll never forget that. It's just a great movie. And I'll leave it at that as a torch, so that way there's plenty to be more to be said.
I agree, man. This movie is really, really something. Subutai, just a surfer friend of the casting director. Awesome role in the film. Obviously, Valeria, fantastic addition to the film.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, Arnold, I
got her right here, bro.
All of his dialogue is fantastic. The old wizard. How do you not love the old wizard? Thulsa Doom, like in the first 10 minutes of the film, he lops the kid's mother's head off right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like while he's holding her hand. Like, come on, man. And look, you guys, don't believe me when I tell you, just send the damn kids to the mines. But look what it did for Conan. He pushed that mill for like 20 years, and he was the baddest motherfucker in town. Send your kids to the mines.
Gotta train them young.
Curtis, go ahead, man. Tell us about Conan.
Conan was great. I saw it on cable for the first time, I think in '83, and I was hooked. I was hooked, and then I kind of got away from it and forgot about it. And hanging out with you guys reminded me about it and stuff. And and I watched it the other day, and it was that Conan is probably got to be the best one. Whoever directed that particular Conan did a great job. Of course, I got me some figures from that Conan from Super 7. I got Conan, of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Valkyrie. But yeah, that's it for me. So
Nice. Yeah, you were showing us the Valkyrie the other day. It's a very cool looking figure.
yeah.
Mhm.
Let's see who should go next. Ed, why don't you go next?
I think I looked it up online and I saw that there was a 2011 Conan film, which I don't even think should be mentioned in the same vein as the original here.
No.
Oh shit! I just messed up. I'm sorry, Ed. I just messed up. I had you going next. You're the one person that didn't pick this.
Boo!
Digital,
Yeah, I
you go
know.
next.
Okay.
Ed goes last. He's the one that didn't pick it. He goes last.
Digital.
This movie had a great story. It was elegant in its violence.
Yes.
It used it when it needed to, and it didn't overuse it. And when Conan got freed and went out into the world, and he was seeing a lot of things for the first time, and then the wolves were chasing him. He ended up in the cave, and he's like, it's my god, Krom. He gives me a sword. What a cool ass friggin' sword that is. This one of the most iconic bladed weapons in cinema, in all of cinema.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed.
what bladed weapon is more recognizable than Conan's sword?
Voltron.
Fuck Voltron.
A lightsaber.
Because you know what about Voltron? It does not listen to the lamentation of your enemy's women.
And because of the Voltron comment, I'm going to let Curtis go next. It was going to be you, M3, but now it's the ghost of Curtis.
I already did.
How are you?
Good.
Oh, I text her.
Conan was really good. Really
fine.
good.
Thank you.
That's all good.
That's all
Oh,
I got.
yeah, that's right. He did already go. M3, anything to add?
No, I've watched Conan. It's another one that I'd watched today. I know that Conan the Barbarian. Now that Moto clarified that is the one with James Earl Jones where he turns into snake, because I always kind of get him confused with the Destroyer. But I know the Destroyer has what Dolph Lundgren's fucking wife in it, or it actually was a Cobra, or what's his name? Fucking Silver Select.
No, you're confusing it with Red Sonja, man. Shame on you.
Okay, yeah. So that's all I gotta say. It was a great movie. Loved it. I've always liked Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was a very, very nice body, fucking cool dude.
Well, Ed, it's finally your turn. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to quote Valeria and say, Ed, do you really want to talk forever?
No,
Oh, wait,
I
I'm
do
sorry.
not.
Live forever?
No, I don't. I tell you what,
James
the
Earl
way
Jones.
the way y'all feel about Conan is the way I feel about Terminator. So when Terminator films come out and y'all don't vote for him, I'm gonna be the sad one, because man, I love Terminator, but I'll give props to this film. I know it's iconic. I know I've watched it more than once growing up, and it's a good film. It's just not a great film to me, and probably only because I probably would have put it in here had the competition not been so tough in '82. But it's a great film, and I'll give it props. And it's really, I guess, what, like y'all said, really kick-started Arnold's career and gave us so many great films by him. So
I mean,
congratulations
let's
to
not
this
forget,
film.
the king was played by Max von Sydow.
Yes.
Flash
Right?
Gordon.
Like, where's the third one? Oh, lions ate him. And then they bring in Super Ties, like, lions ate him.
That's true.
So good, man. So good. But now we're on to the final S-rank movie, the only movie picked by everybody, E.T.
Eddie Torres, the extra testicle.
And because of that, we're going to start from the bottom instead of the top. Go ahead, Ed.
Oh God, I'm on the bottom. This is not where I want to be. I'm on the dog pile. I got you first. Got the joke in there first. E.T. I mean, Spielberg. Oh my God, this is about childhood. This is about innocence lost. It's about believing in somebody. It's about illegal aliens. We can still say that, right? There's so many things that this film is so universal, and the themes in it. Drew Barrymore, I've always just loved Drew Barrymore. I just think I just love her vivacious kind of spirit and all that. And she was so cute in this film. And Elliot and his devotion to E.T. Oh man, the animatronics, the whatever you call it, that made E.T. come to life. You really felt like he was real. And when you're younger, man, it was just so full of hope, and it shows the ugliness of like adults who don't understand what kids are dreaming, and like when you're growing up and you're this age and the world is fantastical and it's full of dreams, and then the real world intrudes rudely into your fantasy life. Oh gosh, it works on so many levels. It's a freaking masterpiece.
Fuck adults.
Next.
I will say the like lead adult for the government, like that guy was a dreamer just like the kids.
True.
Was like one of the great character aspects of that. They actually like,
good point.
Illustrated that the whole reason that guy got into it was to get what Elliot had. Digital, how about you?
Well, where Henson is a fucking genius telling stories with puppets, Spielberg is a fucking genius just telling stories. And when you're a kid, I mean, there's things running through this movie that when you're a kid you don't really get. You don't get that the adults were kind of trying to do what they thought was the best, and maybe not in the right way. But watching this movie as an adult gives you a different perspective as when you're watching it as a kid. So when you're watching it as a kid, you're all excited. Hey, I could be Elliot. There could be a damn alien living in my barn or shed, and let's feed him some Reese's Pieces and see what happens. But a great piece of cinema. And, you can't say a whole lot more else about it. It's a great movie. It's a fun movie. There's parts of it that are kind of scary, especially when you're a kid. So,
or if you're Nestle and you were kicking yourself for denying them the use of M&Ms. Moto, how about you?
Oh, I love this movie. This is the movie did that this year in 1982. This was like everybody else's Titanic. I watched this movie 12 times in the movie theater. I absolutely loved this movie. I love the the connection being made between Elliot and E.T. Hide him out in his house, and he starts getting telepathic, where we can understand him, and it reminds us of the importance of empathy and understanding. And through the eyes of Elliot and E.T., we're reminded that our differences should never hinder our ability to connect with each other, you know?
Yep.
I'll have to pass the torch on that.
Or M3?
Yeah, it just totally reminded me of everything in school when we were on the playground and running around, and this movie came out. Those kids on those bikes was me and my friends on our bikes. Now we didn't exactly do that, but just being able to run in the fucking streets, be free, and then all of a sudden this alien being comes down. He's got the little sister. I agree with Ed. The fucking kids did amazing. I mean, I think I watched. I know for a fact I watched Elliot do his like when they interview him before he is able to get the part, and he cries and shit. He's got really this kid that can just fucking emotionalize everything that he needs to do for this movie to be complete. I think Elliot was a star in this, and the animatronics great. E.T. As an adult, I don't really think that it's cool, but as a kid, oh man, who didn't want the toy that the neck popped up and shit? There was the big one, there was a little one, right. big blue eyes, his finger that came out, you know, the whole touch scene, the speak and spell that was hooked up to the fucking clicking of the fucking shit that was going with the wind. I love it. The movie is just right on the money. And if I was sad and probably almost cried when E.T. was found all dead. And I was like, no fucking way. Just like how when Optimus Prime died, those motherfuckers. But yeah, this movie, fantastic.
Yeah, I love the Star Wars Episode 2 reference in this when he sees the kid dressed as Yoda for Halloween, and he's like, home. He starts following him. Yeah, Elliot and his brother and his brother's friends, like they're the playbook that Stranger Things drew from to come up with that group of kids. You know, they play D&D, they tease each other, you know, it's very similar overall, right? But yeah, the fact that, like, you know, they even humanize the bad guys, like I said earlier, with the leader of the government men, like just being just as fascinated by it all as the kids were.
Right.
Dee Wallace as the mom, like super hot. You know what Frank was talking about earlier with the empathy. When E.T. gets drunk and Elliot is in school drunk, and E.T.'s like watching that romance, and Elliot kisses that girl that wouldn't give him the time of day in his class.
Oh yeah,
you know, all that stuff. The fact that you know, E.T. is like sick and Elliot is getting sick with him, and E.T. basically sacrifices himself to release Elliot from the bond so the kid doesn't die with him. You know, that's you know, there's your empathy right there, Frank. Yeah. But yeah, this movie is like, if you were a kid when this came out, or, you know, kid adjacent, and you saw this film back then this movie, you know, well, that's why everybody here picked it. Curtis, why don't you wrap us up from the Astral Plane?
Yeah, this movie was great. Saw it at the drive-in a few times. Saw it at the movie theater a few times. You know, like my entire like both sets of grandparents and everybody took me to see it. You know, and we got Reese's Pieces from it because, like, I never knew Reese's Pieces existed till the movie came out. Yeah, the whole thing's tied with Star Wars in many different ways, including Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, including the point that Lucas later in Caveman, which episode was it of the prequels? We see the little ETs in the Senate chamber.
That was episode 1.
Yeah,
episode 1. Yeah,
and if that's one of those blink and you'll miss it things.
Right.
And I think 3 as well, right?
No, it was just in.
It
It
was
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 just
twice. It
episode
was
one.
twice. It
Was
was
it twice?
twice.
because it was causing a lot of confusion among the fandom because everybody got excited. Oh, ET's people are part of Star Wars, and they were like,
Yours.
"No, it was just a joke for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg."
Like,
No, they did it. They did
connected
it again in the Sith one.
Did they?
Yep, they showed
Well,
because they
there's an
showed
excuse
more
for
of
me to
them.
go watch it again.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah,
Darth Vader.
Vader.
Well,
If Curtis is done, I got one last thing to add about E.T. E.T. is the movie that introduced me to my love of making your anus jokes. Because it's the first time I ever heard it. Because they're telling them the other kids as they're getting on the bus. Oh yeah, I got an alien. Where's he from? Uranus.
That's where it comes from. God,
That's where it
can you
comes
send it
from.
back.
well, don't make jokes about my anus. It's sensitive.
I'm gonna
Anyways,
make jokes about all.
Everyone in the chat, McDJ, Brian King, Pop the Trunk, DFS. Let's see who else do we have here.
And I want to give a special shout out to my one and
MC
only
DJ.
channel member, DJ or MC DJ
Dose Studios,
ACDC.
Brian King. Thank you guys for showing up and watching along
subscribed
with
to
us
your
tonight. And we're gonna add a little something this week. If anyone who's still in the chat,
It's a
anyone
member.
who's listening, anyone who's watching this later on any of the other platforms, if you want to put your top 10 in the comments below the video after we shut down the live, obviously, we will mention it when we do our top 10 for 83 in a couple of weeks. But yeah, if you have your own top 10 for 1983, go ahead and put it on Curtis's channel, Sergeant Curtis Schultz on YouTube. Watch the go into the video after we shut it down off the live, and put in the comments your top 10 for 1983, and we will bring them up in the next show when we do 1983. And we'll be doing that going forward. Like, when we do 83, you guys can put 84's top 10 in the chat, and we will happily bring them up during the opening of the show. It'll kind of be like an honorable mentions segment. But I want to thank everyone who all the members of the panel tonight. Thank you all for coming along and giving us your top 10 and your opinions on everything. Much appreciated. We couldn't have a show without you guys. And why don't we just go through the panel real quick, and everyone just tell everyone where they can find you and what you're all about, and give a hearty bow and a good night to the
I'll
chat.
go last.
So, all right, if he's going last, then Moto, you go first.
Okay. You can usually find me hanging out with M3 and Curtis, talking, just BSing. I don't do the social media. Sorry. Don't have any of that social media account stuff. But other than that, it was just a great year in movies. It was a very challenging, and the 83 is going to be even more, and 85 and 87 are going to be epic. So I like that idea that you threw out, Prophet, that the chat get involved with that, because there's just so many hard decisions, and it's only going to get harder from here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you guys in the chat, you have to put it on Curtis's channel, so that Curtis and I can see the questions. Like, because I know like Ed and M3 and Digital, they some simulcast it on their channels as well sometimes. But if you leave it on their channels, we won't see it. You got to leave it on Curtis's channel for us to see it. So if you want us to see a list and mention it during the next show, pick your top 10 movies from 1983 and put them in the comments for this video on Curtis's channel after we close it down. Sorry about that. Digital, how about you? Anything?
Again, I want to give a big shout out to my one and only channel member, who showed up tonight. MC, DJ, ACDC. Thank you so very, very much, my friend. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/@digitalcaveman with a capital D and 2 N's. I did put it in the chat, so it's there as well. And I'm also on Instagram at Digital Caveman, again with the 2 N's. And for anybody who's curious about my channel memberships, please check it out. See if anything's right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. And that's it for me.
And Ed, how about you?
Yeah, I'm Ed from a Geek Home World where we talk film, TV, and tech. I'm looking for somebody to talk tech. So if you want to be on a podcast, you want to be part of it, you could be part of it. So let me know. Hit me up. You can find me at youtube.com/@geekhomeworld4248. And anywhere you go on Twitter or X, Facebook, I even have a gaming channel on there as well. You can find me at Geek Home World. Basically, just put in Geek Home World, it's going to find me. So I'm there on all the socials. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry I had some technical problems. I know what the world's going on. Prophet and Curtis and everybody, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for letting me be part of the show. I'm excited for 82 was rough.
It was rough.
Really hard.
It was.
Yeah.
And I agree that, you know, as we get into the 80s, it's going to get rougher, I think. Because
I worked ahead a little bit. So, yeah, it just gets worse from here, guys.
Yeah, I'm up to about 84 on mine. Yeah, it's rough. But thank y'all.
M3, how about you?
First of all, I'm just looking at Kurt, and he's tripping me out. He looks like he has a beard, a fucking goatee, and everything. Dude. You
I
guys,
love it, man. That's his new look.
Yeah, it's great, Kurt. It's great.
Yes.
And Prophet, thanks for hosting tonight. And you guys can find me at none of your damn business. If you're subscribed, please feel free to unsubscribe. Thanks, Prophet.
The hell is wrong with you? Seriously.
We still don't know.
Anyways, and now I guess the ghost of Curtis is going to close us out, and then he's going to go back to the other side.
Yes.
Go into the light, Caroline. But, you know, say your piece first.
Mommy. No, in the chat, if we can, we're gonna give away a Movie Bangers t-shirt. It's not designed yet, but we will give one away at the end of the season. So stay tuned, stay in chat, and do all that good stuff. And keep that up, and hopefully one of you guys will get a Movie Bangers t-shirt.
I got an idea for that, Kurt.
Yeah. I bet you M3's idea is a picture of M3 humping a VHS tape.
That's nice. Hey,
No, if it's Halloween.
Well, it's because it's Movie Bangers.
Oh, I was going to say, if it's just Halloween bangers, it's going to be a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyways, that's gonna do it for 1982.
Wait a minute, did I say Halloween Bangers?
No, you didn't.
You
You
said
didn't.
Movie
you-
Bangers.
You said
did.
Movie Bangers.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
that was all
okay.
me.
Okay. I was like, oh shit.
No. If it was
That was
Halloween
Batman.
Bangers, he'd be fucking a pumpkin.
Yes.
No, but
Really
thank you
Aquaman.
everyone for showing up. Curtis, are we gonna be backstage for a while, or are you gonna close it down?
We can go backstage for a while, but I don't feel
Yay.
like staying on really long because
lies.
Yeah, I don't have a ton left in me either. But yeah, since we're going backstage, if you want to throw the link out, anyone who wants to join can join us backstage.
who wants
Hey, Chris. Hey, Prophet. You know what would be a good idea for a shirt, real quick? First of all, on the back would be all of our YouTube channels on the back that you could read perfectly, and then on the front would be your design right here that says Chicago and the movies, and whoever wins, they get their top 10 movies of any year that they want, and they can have you put it.
I like that.
in the
That's
script.
good.
I like that better than M3 humping a jack-o'-lantern.
Yes, me too.
I still got to see
Yeah,
that
yeah.
T-shirt though. I want to see the concept for that M3.
Hey, it's easy. I can go to Amazon right now and do exactly what I said.
No, I
in
think
5
you have
minutes.
to act that out for your audience.
Oh, yes. Well, yes.
This is something terrible, but my puppy today decided to start humping stuff. I was late to the
MC
stream because
Beast
my
Machine DJ.
Hey,
he's
Curtis,
been fixed, but I don't know what to do. I've never had a dog that humps things, but I know that's what they do. It's like, oh
Kurt-
dear.
Curtis, that was 3 hours and 4 minutes. That seemed like a half an hour. An
Yeah.
hour at best. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, it was a long one, and it's going to get longer when we keep picking different ones.
Shit, that's great, man.
And it's gonna
Well,
be
there were
it's
few
gonna be a lot
emojis
more
on this
different
one than
ones.
there were last time.
Okay, so we're still live, or are we cutting the live now? Or are we
We're
Well,
still
yeah,
live.
the show's over at this point. Curtis is just
Okay.
waiting to see if anyone wants to jump in.
Oh, okay.
DFS, don't feel bad. I was about 30 minutes behind too.
Yeah.
DFS, jump in, man. I'm about to shut
Yeah,
this
jump
off.
on in.
Yeah, anyone in the chat who wants in.
We'll give him what 10 minutes, and then we'll shut it
I
down.
would say 5, maybe
Five, okay.
even 3.
30 seconds.
You better
I
hurry
mean,
up.
if they're gonna jump in, they're gonna jump in. If they're not, they're not.
Yeah.
You know, it's they know already whether or not they're gonna jump in.
You'll jump in or you get jumped on. No.
Whoa.
No, wait a minute now.
You're at the bottom, remember?
Dang, Ed, you've
Oh,
been
God,
around.
I'm on the bottom of the dog.
You've been a,
No,
you've been a-
Caitlin's in there at the bottom
You-
now. Him and Moto Viper's down here with me.
yeah. Well,
And
I
Digital
think I
Canyon's
think I lucked out though because I'm just under profit. So
Oh
Ed, you have to deal with a ghost.
no, yeah.
Profit director.
Oh God, that's perfect. You're at a Carol Brady now.
Woo!
Hey there. But she's looking at Viper. Look at her.
Yeah, she is.
Hey,
She
well,
is.
you know
Yeah.
what? Whatever picture I put up depends on what slot I'm in.
That's what she said.
All right, guys, jump on that stream because I'm about to shut it off in about 15 seconds.
Later, chat. Thank you.
There,
Thank you, chat, for coming.
Have a great weekend.
Like-
Like, share, and subscribe, my friends.
Tell all your friends and your enemies about us.
DFS, MC DJ,
But no enemas.
Brian King, Pops. Later.
Pops.
Brian King.
Yeah, look at Profit Directors.
Whoa!
Oh, dear. Is he kicking him in the
Somebody,
nut?
what the hell? Somebody's doing some acrobats. In
Right.
They look like
It's a
CrossFit.
bear